Shalom, everybody. I go by the appellation of Melchizedek Yis-RoyAl. I come from one of the 12 tribes of the holy nation called Yis-RoyAl. Hope you guys are having an excellent day, a shalom day. Happy day 6 of the Feast of Tabernacles, also known as the Feast of Booths and Tents. May everyone return back to their own fig tree and their own boots. In today's video, I'm gonna be sharing with you guys very seriously and important information. This is not legal advice or tax advice. None of my videos are legal or tax advice. I only share what works with me, what works for me, and I keep everyone updated on the changes and things like that. So this is gonna be emotionally nerve-wracking for some, because the things that they've been taught by the sovereign people and the sovereign movement, I've learned most of my stuff too from the whole sovereign people and the whole sovereign movement thing, the free man movement thing, and come to find out a lot of things that they've been teaching us is not it's not what we think they are. So I want to expose that, and help people, because I work in good faith. And when I find something, I share it with people. I've been hearing about this for a while, about the fraud, about A4V and scams, about things like that. I understand these documents now, and I actually have had success with the A4V, the accepting something as value and returning it for value, which is, there's nothing wrong with accepting anything, and there's nothing wrong with valuable consideration. But I guess the way that people been doing it is considered a scam and fraudulent. Either people are scamming people and not giving them what they paid for, or people are not putting the information they need to put on their documents. I'm not sure what it is, but like I said, this is going to be nerve-wracking to those who've been trained by certain people in the sovereign movement, and I hope that this brings some light to somebody and keep you away from trouble, because not only is IRS and Homeland Security and the FBI and all this stuff, CIA, may come give you a visit if you don't do these things right, or if you follow certain people, and I want to help you guys stay away from that trouble and hassle. Like I said, I got success with the A4V. I have been introduced to it by this whole sovereign movement thing, so it's not like I'm the first one to talk about it or come out with it. Actually, it's getting old. It's getting played out now that we're going through a currency reset. Although it still works in varies to a certain degree, but still, I think many people are not warning you people about how the government view what we're doing versus how we view what we're doing. There's two views. A view from the people who run the game, and the view from the people who are being played by the game. So we need to start seeing things from their angle, so we can protect ourselves and pinpoint what is it that is our remedy, because they're taking away so much of our rights and so much of our remedies and turning them into fraud. To begin with, to take away gold and silver was a fraud. When they implemented HJR 192, that is a fraud, because according to the Constitution, they cannot make nothing but gold and silver legal tender for all debt, and they did. And the states are not privileged or warranted to emit bills of credit or create credit, but they do now. So we're in a predicament where everything is illegal and what's lawful is illegal now. So if you don't know that what's lawful is illegal, like speaking out and telling the truth and stuff like that is illegal now, you may get a visit from FBI or CIA or Homeland Security or some junk like that. So my public disclaimer is that I'm not giving any legal or fictitious tax advice. This is all common sense, like all my videos. If you do want to get in contact with me, you can get in contact with me at godlivesinourheart@hotmail.com. By the way, none of the packages that I am giving, I call my things packages because it's a lot of information. I'm not giving whatever package these other sovereigns or creditors are giving, and there are predators in this sovereign realm. I've learned that now. There's even customers too who are predators. Like, they come to you just to set you up and stuff, and be like, oh, you scammed me and you didn't give me what I thought you were gonna give me, and like, what the heck, what did you expect I was giving you other than a security packet to securitize your product to securitize your asset and to secure your stuff. You know, what did you think you were getting? $1 million bond? Like, I don't deal with bonds like that, you know. I do deal with acceptance for values because I've had success with it firsthand, and it worked for me. Account's been zeroed off. But according to these people, they're saying that certain ways that people do them are fraud. Certain ways that people do the promissory notes and bonds are also fraud, because I guess they're leaving out information and don't know about accounting. They don't know about negotiable instruments. They don't understand securities. They don't understand bond, nor do they understand the government and the laws that govern these things. So a lot of people are getting themselves in a doozy, in big trouble, because they don't know what the hell they're doing. A lot of people are filing out tax forms like 1099 OIDs and 1099 a bunch of 1099 forms and doing 1040 forms, and they don't know what they're doing, and they're getting penalized, you know, $5,000 penalties and things like that. Some even getting a visit from, you know, Men in Black. So I want to warn people and protect people, you know, because I work and operate in good faith. And I do not want anyone getting in trouble, and I want to disclaim anything just in case, you know, someone want to try to connect me with any of these sovereigns or their packages and stuff. My stuff is actually my package actually will help people, and the information is evident. I give you proof and laws that back everything up, and I actually help you through the stuff to become a secured party creditor. But even that too is becoming a fraud, claiming your asset on UCC. So like I said, what I'm going to share you guys today is going to be nerve-wracking to some, and it's going to help also pinpoint our remedy and our cure and the solution, because to every problem there is a solution. 1 + 1 = 1. 1 + 1 = what? It equals 2. So 2 is the solution. So what equals 2? The problem. The problem equal the solution. The solution equal the problem. But what connects the two? The equal sign. The 2 dashes. You see? So to every problem there's a solution. To every solution there's a problem. You have an opportunity to cure, and there's nothing irreversible. There's some things irreversible. Forgive me about that. I would be lying if I said there's some certain things irreversible. So before I continue and begin, make sure you study the material thoroughly before you jump to conclusions, because they may not be saying that the entire thing is no good. They may be saying that how specific people do them is no good. Like people leaving out account numbers, or people making up account numbers, or people leaving out routing numbers, or writing the wrong routing numbers, and when people go to cash them, they don't turn out to be what they want. So if you watch some of my other videos, you'll be able to narrow down everything and try to make a decision for your own self. All I know is that I'm going to continue to do what I do and continue to help people. I take absolutely no responsibility for your own actions. What I learned from, I will teach you guys, and what works for me, I will continue to teach you guys. I do not talk much about promissory notes and bonds, because that's not my area. My area is necessarily asset protection, protecting what we do have, and recording our claim on UCC to protect that stuff, first come first serve, and to remove ourselves from the jurisdiction that we don't belong from, which is international intercorporate legal fiction realm. We're not that fiction, but yet they saying that is also a scam too, a fraud. So like I said, they're trying to take away a lot of our rights, and they don't want us to be protected. So right now we're in the day 6 of the Feast of Tabernacle. We're in the 20th day of the 7th month according to the Hebraic calendar. We have 10 more days until this first month is over, and we're going into the second portal in the second semester of fall. Right now we're in the first semester of fall, and we're in the third portal in fall. We're in the 6th day of the week, day 20 of the 7th month, according to the Hebraic sun, star, and moon calendar, sun, star, and moon base calendar. And they call this month in fake Hebrew, Yiddish, German, Japheth language, Tishri, or Etanim. If you want a copy of this calendar or anything, contact me at godlivesinourheart@hotmail.com. So according to the devil's time, it's October 7th, 2015, and the devil says it's 3:12 p.m. I did not step outside to see what time it is, but usually the clock is like 1 hour ahead, so it's probably like 2:12 p.m., just a little bit afternoon according to the sun. It's noon when the sun is right above our head. That's how we know the day is halfway over. Why? Because the sun is halfway through its whatchamacallit. The sun is halfway through the day, halfway through the sky. It's midway. And we know once the sun sets, we're afternoon and the sun is going down into evening. So I use the sun, star, and moon to keep track of time because that's what Yah told us to do in Genesis, the book of Jubilee, and the book of Enoch. So let's go ahead and begin our lesson for today. The first thing I'm going to start off with is your taxpayer rights. Although we're not taxpayers, and although we are taxpayers, because there's a dual identity thing there, an altered ego or an altered personality. They have us. We have two different personalities: one of a legal fiction, a government agent, and one of a natural free will man on the land that does not know government at all or corporation, but nature, where we deal with the natural, the natural occurrences of life. So there's the natural realm, and there's also the fictitious realm. You see, there's the national realm, and there's the international realm. There is a corporate realm, but there's also the intercorporate realm. So we've been under intercorporate, international, fictitious law. You see, and they, in that jurisdiction, is trying to say that what we're doing is natural people in a natural world with natural occurrences are frauds because we're not engaging in their bullcrap. And actually, it would be a lie to say that I work for the government when I don't. Just because a birth certificate and social makes me a trustee of that account. So let's go ahead and begin, because this is going to be extremely lengthy in a couple part video. So as you look right here, taxpayer rights, you can find this on the IRS page. It's, they're the ones who tell you your rights that they made up, but it's for taxpayers. So if you don't know the definition of a taxpayer, please look that up, because they conscrew you and assume you to be one. And that's why they be deducting income tax from your pay because of the W-4 form and the W-2 forms, which means that you work for the state. A W form, the worker 2, worker 4 forms. W-4 to withhold tax, W-2 to report the wages that the worker of the government or the agent of the District of Columbia, which is you, had made. So they give you a W-2 form and they deduct income tax from it, which is dues and homage to Caesar, pretty much. So give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Give unto the government what belongs to the government. So we are not government agents. There's no contract or oath of office in place to prove that. But you filing W-4 forms under penalty of perjury gets you in big trouble. And using Federal Reserve notes, which are dollar bills, which are private corporate currency, also subjects you to their laws. So each time you use a W-4, W-2 form, instead of a 1040, instead of a instead of a 1041, every time you use a 1040, you're saying under penalty of perjury that you're a worker of the government, that you're an agent, that you are a U.S. citizen, which means a member of their ship, and that you don't have sovereignty. You're a citizen of someone else's establishment, a member of someone else's club, private corporate rule, statute. So when you use that private corporate currency in those private corporate forms, it is construed that you are a private corporate agent. And if it's not true and you do those forms, you have committed perjury. And this is when IRS come mess with you and do things, and you meet the men in black and all that, and they use these things against you. So if you don't know what you're doing on those forms, please do not touch them at all, please. You'll get yourself in big trouble. And at work, they're not supposed to be giving you W-4 forms, because the entity that's really making the money is your trust, and you're not the trust. So they should be having you do a 1041 and not a 1040 or a W-4 or W-2. We do 1099s. So taxpayer bill of rights. This is what they call this real quick. So this is the latest news, blah, 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 blah. IRS adopta carta de derechos del contribuyente. adopta cota de derechos del contribuyente. I hope I said it right. Might get a lot of comments from the Spanish people on that one. Like, hey, this is how you say it. Well, teach me. I would love to learn some Espanol. I don't know why people call it Española when that's actually a land. Like Hispaniola, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Quisqueya. So explore your rights and our obligations to protect them. So we have rights within the IRS complex, and they have obligations to protect those rights. So every taxpayer has a set of fundamental rights. By the way, thank you, Rocky, for helping me find this. Because, Brother Rocky had went ahead and sent me this information, in a time when we needed this information to understand our tax rights. So I thank you, Rocky, for, sharing this with me. All due credit to everyone who deserve due credit. And overall, all due praise to Yahuwah Elohim for the understanding that he bestow upon us. So each and every taxpayer, each and every one, has a set of fundamental rights they should be aware of when dealing with the IRS. So explore your rights and our obligations to protect them. So these are some of your rights. The right to be informed, full disclosure. The right to quality service, which means don't mess up my tax paper. The right to pay no more than the correct amount of tax. The right to challenge the IRS's position and be heard. The right to appeal an IRS decision, which means send it up to a higher bureau. You have the right to appeal, send your stuff to a higher bureau, an IRS decision, adjudication, in an independent forum. Independent, which means not in an IRS forum, but independent. By the way, they don't honor these rights no more. They'll put you in a private forum now. Conflict of interest out the yin yang. They got the lawyers and public defenders working for them, the judges working for them, the agents working for them, the jury working for them. There's no way you're gonna walk in there and win. It's not It's not an independent courtroom or forum anymore. Forum mean a place where people engage in conversation and discussions and debate and stuff like that. So we have the right to appeal an IRS decision in an independent forum. We have the right to finality. We have the right to privacy. We have the right to confidentiality, which is part of privacy. Keep secrets. Don't be telling everyone my business. The right to retain representation. So you have the right to choose your own representation. But once again, they have to have a license to practice law, tax law, or legal law for them to represent you, or they can get in trouble for speaking, which means not having a lie to their sense to speak. So, but they say you have the right to retain representation. Representation should have meant representation in its fundamental sense, which means anybody can represent me if I consent to it. You know what I'm saying? But they don't let anybody represent you. They have to have some freaking lie to their sense, because that means the government have jurisdiction over the license and the person with it, and can revoke their license anytime to shut their mouth. So if you don't got that shut your mouth license, then you can't speak. You have to shut your mouth still. So either way, with or without the license, you have to shut your mouth. So the right to a fair and just tax system. Obviously, after what I just told you, there is no fairness or justice in any tax system, because tax mean to extort, to rob, and to steal from the people. And we are the taxpayers, not as in paying tax, but we are the ones who are funding the piggy bank. We are the ones pitching into the mutual funds, and they're taking our mutual funds and turning it into a form of tax where they privatize our piggy bank and use it for their own little schemes and stuff. But really, we are the one who fund this system, like putting a deposit in a gumball machine, a quarter in a gumball machine to get gum out of it. So what they're doing is taking your quarter, and they're taking your gum, and they're keeping the gumball machine from you completely. But yet telling you, oh, there's fairness to dropping a quarter in the gumball machine. You'll get your gum just like you paid for, but you never get the gumball. So it's a lie, like a broken vending machine. So these people are supposed to service us like a vending machine and a gumball machine, but it seems like when we deposit our requests in their hand, they end up taking them and keeping them because people don't know what the hell they're doing or saying. And this is why I make this video, to warn you people out there listening to these sovereigns and people telling you to do tax forms and A for V when you don't thoroughly understand the laws behind it, you know. So like the publications and stuff like that, I study these things, but I do not give tax or legal advice. I just share what is common sense, you know, for those who have eyes to see, to read, and understand. So the right to be informed. What is the right to be informed? Break that down for me. So taxpayers, which mean us who are the creditors of this system, credit depositors, have the right to know what they need to do. So we have the right to know what we need to do to comply with the tax laws. So what do I need to do? Don't just send me a frivolous, you know, document, or you have a frivolous position or this or that and all that stuff, or, you know, tell me exactly how to fix it up. Like, hey, on your 1040 you messed up over here. You said that you have this amount when you don't, and you sent this extra form in which you did not need. So all right. So let me be informed. I have the right to know what I need to comply with the tax laws. Don't just tell me, oh, if I don't send in a corrected form within 30 days, I'm going to be penalized. You know, what does that mean? What do you want me to fix? What was wrong? What is your claim? What do you claim is wrong? So I can challenge its validity. So we can say things like that. So we have the right to know what we need to comply with those fictitious tax laws governed by Title 26 United States Code, Internal Revenue Code. And there's also the IRS Internal Revenue Manual, IRM, IRC, IRS, all international accounting. So we are entitled to clear explanations of the laws. So we are entitled to clear, conspicuous, concise explanations. I need you to explain to me. I'm not asking for legal advice. I am asking for the proof of your standing and proof of your claim. What do you mean? Tell me what law to go to. You know, check out what I messed up about. You know, don't just send me to a law or a code that says, well, frivolous filings are penalized 5,000. But what is the frivolous part about the documents? Tell me specifically where to go. What, publication 550, so I can understand how to really accumulate the income, interest, or, you know, publication 1212, so I can know how to properly do the OID. What do you want me to do? Where to go? So we have the right to be informed, and we're entitled to clear explanations of the laws and IRS procedures in all tax forms, all of them, all instructions, all publications, notices, and correspondence. All notices, letters, correspondence. We're entitled to clear explanations, and we have the right to know what we need to do to comply with their damn law. And that's how it is with anything that you deal with, like UCC, the state laws, federal law, everything. They must fully disclose, in other words, to you and explain without giving legal advice or anything like that, so you can know where to go. Like, give me a hint. Give me a hint. Where should I go? So we have the right to be informed of IRS decisions about our tax accounts. So our tax accounts is our Social Security accounts. It's for taxation. That's how they get the Social Security trust funds and all those funds. Those funds are raised by tax. Tax is not only labor and slavery and usury, but it is the faith and credit of the United States, of us. So I work in labor, pitch into a mutual fund, which you call tax accounts. You see, and they draw from these tax accounts all the credit that we deposit in it and use it for their own private corporate means. So this is fraud to begin with. So we have a right to be informed of the IRS decisions. So how did you come to your conclusion about our tax accounts, and to receive clear explanations of the outcomes? So we are to receive clear explanation. We have a right to be informed, full disclosure, and we are entitled to know what we need to do to comply with the tax laws. So you can use these things in your documents to further solidify your claims. But if you don't know these things, you don't know what you're sending to the IRS or saying or doing. So the right to quality service. So taxpayers have the right to receive prompt, courteous, and professional assistance and dealings with the IRS. And they don't usually act prompt no more. They take a long time, and them lines be long as hell. So they're committing perjury on these taxpayer right declarations and mission statements. They're lying. But we have the right to receive prompt, courteous, and professional assistance in our dealings with the IRS, to be spoken to in a way we can easily understand. I don't go to tax school or law school and all that stuff. Speak to me in a way that a baby can understand. Layman's terms. To receive clear and easily understandable communications from the IRS. So they got to make it clear and understandable. And to speak to a supervisor about inadequate service. So we can speak to their supervisors, the one with the supervision, about inadequate service, because they're not prompt, courteous, or professional, and at the same time they're not speaking in a way that we can easily understand, so we can receive clear and easily understandable communications regarding our right to be informed about what we need to do to comply with tax law, and the explanations of the laws, procedures, instructions, publications, notices, and correspondence to make a proper decision. So they have to speak clear before we make a decision. Like, what did I do wrong? Where can I go to fix it? I'm not asking for legal or tax advice. I'm just trying to figure out what are you claiming I did wrong, so I can know whether to challenge it or not. So the right to pay no more than the correct amount of tax. So you have the right to not pay more than the correct amount of tax. So them telling you that you have 30 days to respond or they'll penalize you is a contract that they're trying to create. So after 30 days, the contract becomes activated by tacit acquiescence, just like everything we've been learning about tacit acquiescence, administrative procedures, and the affidavit process. So swearing under penalties of perjury is the affidavit process. Just because they have penalties of perjury in it, that's the whole fundamental point of an affidavit, is that it's being stated and claimed and alleged under penalties and risk. So I request for them to be under penalties of perjury as well, just in case they're lying about something. Like, oh, you have no rights here. You have to pay dollars. Well, according to the law, it says that you cannot ask for a particular currency or coin, so therefore you just committed perjury. Because you said, I need to give you dollars, that I need to give you a check, that I need to give you a particular thing. So that's against public policy. And that is codified under Title 31, United States Code 5118. So if you don't believe me, don't make nothing up. I ain't no liar. I'm not no scammer. I'm none of that stuff. I have a good heart, a good reputation, man. I'd rather just drop out and stop helping people if that's how people may treat me and look at me because of these things. You know, I'll help my own self and those who actually trust me. If you don't trust me, then don't deal with me. I don't care. I don't need your money. I don't live for people and none of that. I believe in the Most High God, which is Yahuwah Elohim, Spirit and Truth, Ruach HaKodesh Shemat. So I don't care. I believe that when I die here, I'm going home. And the system was created against me to begin with anyway. So I'm foolish to even believe that I can find remedy and cure in the system for grievance, you know. So the right to pay no more than the correct amount of tax. So taxpayers have the right to pay only the amount of tax legally due. So if there's no tax due, I don't owe you crap. Including interest and penalties. So penalties with interest is always personal income. Too bad you may not know how to use the 1099 INT and OID yet, because you could have claimed that interest that they claim that belong to them. It's really yours. It's created by your social and name. So, including interest and penalties, to only pay the amount legally due, and to have the IRS apply all tax payments properly. So they need to apply your asset to your liability properly to cause an offset, because the IRS are the administrators of your Social Security account. That's why they're extremely strict, because this is the closest that you'll get to cracking into your code, into your bank, into your vault, into your account, your SSN trust fund. So a lot of people are not doing this right, or they're doing it incomplete, because there's not a universal way to do tax forms. Everyone have their own thing. So, and I think you're supposed to do certain tax forms towards the end of the year during tax season, which is around December 31st and January 1st up to like February or March. You know, and they got laws governing that stuff too. Like when, how, where. You know, you got to study these laws behind these things, or don't touch this stuff. You're going to get yourself in big ass trouble. So the right to challenge the IRS's position and be heard. So we have the right to be heard, and we have a right to challenge their position on our position. So taxpayers, us creditors of the United States bankruptcy, have the right to raise objections, rebuttals, and provide additional documentation, affirmative defenses, or claim. And remember one thing, I'm going to reread that. Remember one thing, so-called sovereigns, never use that word though, but so-called free will men, free will women, creditors, never argue. We discharge debt. We ask for a bill, we ask for a payoff statement, we request for validity of accounting, of the ledger books, you know, asset, liability, revenue, expense, deferred payments, accounts receivable, and accounts payable. We request for things under conditions. So I conditionally accept all of your claims if and only if you can prove your claim. You see, I want an accurate proof of accounting, and to see if you're applying my asset to my liability as you should. So even if you're not doing tax forms, but the IRS say you owe them when you don't, you should be able to request these things. Now, if they try to make a decision on you, you can object to that under conditions. Well, I object and rebut to that if and only if you cannot prove what you're saying. If you can't prove your standing. What gives you jurisdiction over me? Because it's contract that creates jurisdiction. It's never something else. It's contract and consent. Is it the W-4 form that I'm signing under penalties of perjury? Is it the W-2 form that I'm signing under penalties of perjury, saying that I'm a worker? That makes you assume that I'm a worker of the government? Or what is it? The birth certificate, the social security card, the driver's license, the state identification card? What is it that makes you assume you have power over me, the flesh and blood man, that is not the legal fiction that you're talking about? And once again, they even claim that that's a frivolous claim. So I gotta warn you guys, so when you go in there, you don't sound like a nutcase, you know? But we have the right to know these things, and they be clear about it. So remember, creditors never argue. We don't argue. We conditionally accept, we discharge debt, and we request for verification so we can pay properly. You know, that's the or to discharge or offset properly. So taxpayers have the right to raise objections and provide additional documentation in response to formal IRS actions or proposed actions, to expect that the IRS will consider their timely objections. So if you do send your objections and documentation within the amount of time, it's usually 30 days, then you have the right to be heard. And you have a right for your documents to be investigated, reviewed, and sought out. And you have the right to receive the certain vital basic information that you request, like proof of accounting. You see, proof of the ledger books or the balance books and stuff like that. Under the Freedom of Information Act, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and the IRS codes. So, but IRS is sovereign, so-called, which means they're above the law. So technically, they don't have to give you SHI. They ain't gotta give you she. So Please do not take this as tax or legal advice, because although they say these things, do not mean we can use them. Just like they say that we have unlimited credit, but obviously now they're calling that fraud. Although we only deal with credit nowadays, like a dollar bill is nothing but a promissory note, a promise to pay, which is credit. It's a deferred payment, accounts payable and accounts receivable. You see, it's credit. So we have the right. So we have the right to expect that the IRS will consider our timely objections, timely keyword objections, rebuttal, and documentation properly and fairly. By the way, do not use the word objection. Use the word rebuttal. Rebuttal. I rebut your presumptions. And documentation properly and fairly. Properly and fairly. That connects with what we read before. And to receive a response if the IRS does not agree with their position, which means to receive a response if they do not agree with our position, and then we can go from there. But remember, if there's no agreement and there's no harmony and there's argument, this is when a court case will begin. So that's why you don't want to argue, because when you argue, there's a trial and tribulation, which means you go to trial and you go before a tax judge and a tax court and all this stuff. Now you guys can argue there before a magistrate and a jury, and then you bring your facts there. And what they're going to do is bring their laws, and they all work with the United States anyway. That's why IRS is under Title 26 United States Code. They're going to use all those United States Code and federal laws and stuff and state codes against you in that courtroom. So if you do not know the rules governing tax and credit, banking, and loaning and stuff like that, and accounting, if I didn't say that before, administration and executive, then you're going to be in big trouble in that courtroom. You're not going to know what to say, and just claiming that, well, I'm exempt from this and that is not a strong defense. Or I'm not that all caps name is not a strong defense. Well, all those laws don't apply to me is not a strong defense when you already signed those documents under penalty of perjury. You see what I'm saying? So you cannot do those forms until you actually get them, because you're engaging in something that you may not be able to pull your feet back out of, you know? It's like sticking your feet in an alligator's mouth. Don't expect to get that foot back unless you know how to unless you're used to taking your foot out of an alligator's mouth or successfully putting it in his throat without getting bit. So, don't put your feet in there if you don't know how to do it right, Mr. Crocodile Dundee. So the right to appeal an IRS decision in an independent forum. So taxpayers, creditors, we the people who fund the system and the beast, the devil. So taxpayers are entitled to a fair and impartial administrative appeal, to a fair bankruptcy, administrative, corporate court type of appeal, because all crimes are commercial, which means they have a commercial value. So we are entitled to a fair and impartial administrative appeal of most IRS decisions. You see, most, keyword, that's what helps them back out. For most decisions, not all, but most. And fair, who knows what fair means? Like, hey, the IRS deserves something too, and you deserve something. That's what fair means to them. Or, well, you tricked the IRS, you had hampered business and impeded on business, so that would be fair to them. So what the hell does fair mean? And impartial, what does impartial mean? To not choose favorites, not to choose one over the other. So we are entitled to a fair and impartial administrative, which means you're dealing with business, appeal of most IRS decisions, including many penalties. You can fight that. And have the right to receive a written response regarding the Office of Appeals decision. So it's the Office of Appeals, you would be appealing your documents and everything too. So keep all of your originals and all that when dealing with them. So taxpayers generally have the right to take their cases to court. So you have the right to take this to court. So the right to finality. So taxpayers have the right to know the maximum amount of time they have to challenge the IRS's position, 30 days, as well as the maximum amount of time the IRS has to audit a particular tax year or collect a tax debt. So you can audit the accounting. That's good. And you can do a form 4506 tax transcript request. It's called form 4506. You can get a history on all of the tax forms put into your account in your name, because remember, according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which is federal law, they have to record all of the transactions, especially because of the Government Accounting Standards Board, which is GASB, the Financial Accounting Standards Board, which is all dealing with generally accepted accounting principles in its entire hierarchy. There's also the generally accepted auditing standards. So you can use those standards to fundamentally structure the questions you're going to request, or the material you're going to request in an audit. So you can get an audit, and they have to record every transaction so they can keep track of budget, spending, which connects with the assets, liabilities, expense and revenue, deferred payments, capital, which is investments, as well as accounts receivable, accounts payable, tax receivable, tax payable, and so on, so on. So everything must be documented. If it's not documented, don't mess with nothing. Like, if you don't have proof that funds are being withheld, do not put on your forms that there's tax being withheld. Because if you're off by a millisecond or just by a penny, you'll get in trouble. You see, and they'll scare the SHII out of you by saying if you don't send the corrected form, you'll get a $5,000 penalty, when really you're just off by a penny. This is the way that they try to discourage frivolous claims and stuff like that, and fraud. Like, you run quick, you'll be like, oh crap, and just withdraw the whole thing. And you can withdraw your submissions, by the way. And if you need to amend the 1040 form because there's an issue, you need to do a 1040X and then contradict everything that you claimed in your last 1040. Whatever's wrong, contradict it in your 1040X so it zeroes off, So this is all accounting, and 1040 forms deal with accounting, tax assessment, credit assessment, like dealing with the accounting books again. That's why they ask you specific questions. Then they tell you to add, multiply, subtract, and divide, this and that. Use this schedule to itemize everything, and use this form to report this and that, and to prove this and that. Send your W-2 forms to prove this and that. And if you ain't got no proof, no documents, no nothing, please don't touch anything. 3:45 p.m. Let there be order in the house. So taxpayers have the right to know when the IRS has finished an audit. So we have the right to know once they got the proof of the accounting. And we can request for a transcript, once again, tax history, through a 4506T. Look it up. Alright, give me 1 second, my loves. I wanted to read to y'all the positive stuff first so you can know your rights, because I'm not trying to scare you guys with this video, nor am I trying to discredit any sovereigns or secure party creditors out there that are honest and do engage in good faith. I'm just trying to warn you guys before you do anything, because obviously no one's warning anybody, and I've been hearing about this way too much. I've been hearing about this scamming stuff and fraud way too much to just blow it over and to ignore it. And I know many of y'all have too. I'm telling y'all, if y'all don't listen, y'all gonna get yourself in trouble. So the right to privacy. So taxpayers have the right to expect that any IRS inquiry, examination, or enforcement action will comply with the law and be no more intrusive than necessary, because they can intrude on your life, but not more than necessary. Now, what type of intrusion in your life is necessary? How can I moderately intrude upon your life? You see how they try to like be slick? You better watch out. So they can enforce actions and intrude upon you, but as necessary. Keyword. So don't worry, because we'll do what's necessary. And we'll respect all due process rights, which mean they have to give us notices and everything to inform us of any decisions, court cases, any jury duties or anything, or jury trial. So they will respect all due process rights, and we have the right to see a magistrate or a judge before they come to a verdict. Most likely if they want to arrest you first and deal with it that way, like they did with Tim Turner and Dean Clifford and stuff like that, or Bonacci, Santos Fibonacci, or whatever his name is, then most likely then they might hold you in a cell until until you see a magistrate. Never get locked up on a Friday, because then you won't be getting out all the way until Monday. So, including search and seizure protections, and will provide, where applicable, a collection due process hearing. So at this hearing is where you can challenge the fairness in their debt collection and their search and seizure protections as well. Hallelujah. So the right to confidentiality, taxpayer law. So taxpayers, the creditors of the United States bankruptcy, have the right to expect that any information they provide to the IRS, any information provided, will not be disclosed unless authorized by the taxpayer or by law. Usually they go around the taxpayer's consent by using certain laws, Freedom of Information Act and things like that. So taxpayers have the right to expect appropriate action will be taken against employees. Return preparers, so the ones who prepare your tax will get in trouble too, and others who wrongfully use taxpayer return information or wrongfully disclose taxpayer return information. So your tax preparer can get in trouble, their employees can get in trouble, or anybody else who wrongfully use or disclose taxpayer return information, which is a breach of confidentiality. So the right to retain representation. Hallelujah. So taxpayers have the right to retain and authorize representative of their choice. Is it really of our choice? So according to state license laws. So we know what that means now. Taxpayers have the right to retain and authorize representative of their choice to represent them, represent the straw man. Because they're not representing you, the flesh and blood man, because in nature you can't be represent. That's like resurrecting, or with not resurrecting only, but incarnation, reincarnation. So in the natural world you cannot represent me. I'm already here now in present. So how can you here now in present me and you're not me? But in the fictitious world, since we're dealing with legal fictions, they can legally fictitiously represent, resurrect, reincarnate the straw man. You see? So, through contract, to represent them in their dealings, contract with the IRS. So taxpayers have the right to seek assistance from a low-income taxpayer clinic. So we have the right to seek assistance from a low-income taxpayer clinic, because some people make low income if they cannot afford representation. So you can use that on the low income taxpayer clinic as well. And you should be able to use promise to pay notes with them, since everything is just promises and notices. And taking note. Take note. So the right to a fair and just tax system. Hallelujah. So taxpayers have the right to expect the tax system to consider facts, consider truth and circumstances that might affect their underlying liabilities. How about my assets? Ability to pay, or ability to provide information timely. So they should consider those facts, your circumstances, transportation, not having enough money, so they can put you on like a monthly installment type of thing where you can pay them based on a monthly thing, you see? So it says right here, taxpayers have the right to receive assistance from the Taxpayer Advocate Service. So we have the right to receive assistance from Taxpayer Advocate Services. And you may want to look into that if you have trouble with understanding your tax forms, because they can give you legal and tax advice regarding your stuff. Right now we're sharing common sense because this is on their documents, on their own website, on the front page nearly. So if they are experiencing financial difficulty, or if the IRS has not resolved their tax issues properly and timely through its normal channels or through its ordinary course of business. So before we begin, we got all these pages to look at real quick. So what I'm gonna do real quick is copy and paste this so we can go into those things. But I do want you guys to check out this document right here. Thank you for the respect, my loves. Hallelujah, Huanu. So right here, you may want to check out this document. Thank you again, Rocky. Although I did find this somewhere else too myself. But thank you too for building with me and bringing these things to my awareness as well. We're creditors. So if I want you to check out this document because it's 32 pages and I will not be able to possibly read it in this series, but it's called State Strategies to Subvert Fraudulent Uniform Commercial Code Filings. So a report for state business filing agencies. It was updated April 2014, and this is by the National Association Secretary State, founded in 1984 or something like that. So this right here governs your UCC forms. Okay, so it's the National Association of Secretaries of State. So the Secretaries of State are the ones that oversee and administer the UCC, because they deal with the state corporations and the Division of Commerce, the Chamber of Commerce. So if you cannot file your UCC, these are the basic reasons why your UCC is not being filed, because a lot of people have been making fraudulent claims, putting gigantic, crazy, imaginary liens on government officials and stuff. Some people are creating bonds where it says the value is unlimited, and it's causing problems, So what we're doing through learning these things is trying to pinpoint where our solution may be, if it's not this, and if it's not that, and if it's not those. You see, we're pinpointing things by, Xing out the things, that are considered against the chess rules, a game of Monopoly. So this is a very important document. I will be reading this at some point. You can get criminal and civil penalties for certain UCC filings. Not because UCC don't work. It's nothing with the record. There's nothing wrong with IRS. There's nothing wrong with the Treasury. There's nothing wrong with your Secretary of State. And there's nothing wrong with the Division of Commerce. Although this system is de facto, there's nothing wrong with it necessarily when you get a frivolous filing complaint or something like that. There's something wrong with how you're forming your documents, and there's certain necessary points and key things and key words you're supposed to use, which you don't use because you don't go to school for these things, and you're not well informed about the laws behind these things if you're not going to school. So a lot of people hear information on internet and go do things without studying the laws governing them. You see, there's laws governing every piece of document, every stroke of your pen, every word, every term, every language, every practice, every procedure. So those telling you that you don't have to study state statutes and all that, been lying to you too. Because when you go into court or tax court or whatever type of court, guess what rules they're going to be using? State laws, practices, and procedures. The very ones that these sovereigns are telling you not to study, but go do your UCC claim and claim you're exempt. It doesn't work like that. So, a matter of fact, when you do these forms, you're not getting out of the system necessarily. You're going deeper into it. To get out of the system will take giving up the birth certificate, social security, not going to work, not doing any of their forms, and eventually starving to death if you don't have, second, some type of thing to fall back on. If you don't own your own home yet, you can't leave work. You got to pay bills and stuff, and so you cannot just back out of the system like that. So look at right here. It says the rise of fraudulent UCC filings, and they even tell you here too. So the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, has designated sovereign citizens. Never use the word sovereign citizen, because citizen mean a member, sovereign mean free. So if you're a sovereign citizen, that means you're a member of a sovereign that is not working for the government, which means you have a crew, a hierarchy, a big gang, an army, and you're a threat. So there has designated those sovereign citizens as a domestic terrorist movement. You hear me? This has been told throughout the executive, legislative, and administrative branches. All three got the code. They got the message. They're considered a domestic terrorist movement, a growing threat to law enforcement. You see? So you better watch out. And look at right here. It says most of these filings utilize telltale buzzwords and share common indicators of fraud, including references to the Bible. I can't believe they put that first. The Constitution. I can't believe they said that. The United States Supreme Court decisions. I can't believe they said that. Or foreign treaties. I can't believe they said that. This is everything everyone uses: the Bible, the Constitution, Supreme Court case decisions, and treaties. So names written in all capital letters, which they always do in court when they send you a bill, or interspersed with colons, like when you write the real man's name. You're considered a domestic terrorist. Trading with the Enemy Act, TWEA. So signatures followed by the words under duress, sovereign living soul, or a copyright symbol. That's ridiculous. Personal seals, stamps like acceptance for value, or thumbprints in red ink. The Moors. The words accepted for value. Copies of personal documents such as birth certificates or social security cards. So I'm gonna pause there for now because this is important. They call it harassment filings, straw man filings. They call them all bogus, and they're harassment. So they're setting you people up to get in trouble, to be looked at as a domestic terrorist. Not because you're wrong, not because you're lying, not because we're scamming people or none of that, but they're taking away your rights. They're taking more and more of our rights away, and this will begin that long journey. And so there's going to be a lot of sovereigns going to jail like Tim Turner, a lot of killings, a lot of deaths, a lot of court cases, a bunch of stuff. So if you don't know what you're doing, if I was you, I will stay away from this stuff. Not that it's fraud, not that there's anything wrong with it, but the way people are doing it, they're doing things wrong. So I don't believe that they're saying that the whole thing is wrong, because I found documents where they said in their scam rules that some of it's actually payments. You see, so if some of them are actually payment, what distincts the one that's actually payment from the fraud? People are doing incomplete documents because they don't know accounting, banking, crediting, or state procedures, practices, or anything like that. You see, nor do they study Uniform Commercial Code to know what the hell they're saying or claiming. They just do what they hear, what they see, and that's it, and then they try to say what they heard on TV. Well, I'm not the straw man and stuff. Who told you about that? Although a straw man mean a name put up for transaction only, to take place in a transaction is put up in a name, and you can find that in the Black's Law Dictionary. I'm pretty sure they're going to say the frauds, sovereign citizens, domestic terrorists use the Black's Law Dictionary as well to assert rights. So if you know what you're saying, you can challenge their claim. But if you don't, then you can't, and you'll get in big trouble. So let's go to the first thing. I want you guys to check that out though later. This is on you to check out. I'll make a video for that later. This is for those having UCC problems. Now this right here is going to be dealing with the tax itself. So you put this right here. And like I said, I did have success with the A for V the way I make mine. I don't copy Tim Turner's stuff or whatchamacallit, what's his name? Winston Stroud and all the other famous people. Joanna Johnson, I heard some good things about her though. I've seen some good things about her though, and I feel she got a very good heart. As well as Dean Clifford, I believe he got a good heart as well. Robert Menard, very good heart. These people are still credible. So like I said, I'm not trying to bash on those who are acting in good faith. I'm trying to warn you guys about the predatory sovereigns out there, and not tell you that you're a natural person or a human being, or that you can put big claims and liens on the government. And I'm not trying to say you can't, but there's a way to do every single thing. There's an order. So I don't know what to tell you guys because I don't give legal or tax advice. I'm a student. So if you check out right here, and there's nothing wrong with the forms either. I've been hearing people say dumb junk like, don't do those. I say don't do those forms if you don't know the laws behind them. But if you do know the laws behind them and you're using it appropriately and accordingly, according to their rules, according to the book, then you're fine. You'll be fine. You'll be straight. Everything will work perfect. But if you don't, and you don't know the laws behind them and the publications and the instructions and all this stuff, you're going to get your ass in big ass trouble. So as you can see right here, this is the Treasury, the Inspector General. The Office of Inspector General is executive branch of the United States Federal Reserve Corporation, Intercorporation. So this is what they say on their website. And you can get audits too and all this stuff. Eric M. Thorson is the Inspector General of that. So, come in peace, y'all. So it says, scammers falsely purporting to be calling from the Treasury Office of Inspector General, Office of Investigations, so the Treasury Office of Legal Affairs, or emailing from the Office of the Secretary of the Treasury. Who the heck is doing that? So let me copy this real quick. They're going to give us examples too, so this is going to be a pretty lengthy video. It's going to at least be 15 part, 16 part type of thing. Something along that line. Because I want to understand this well so I can protect myself and watch out what I'm sharing. Because like I said, I act in good faith. I don't want to be teaching people things that will get them in trouble, or I'll draw myself back. If I'm the issue, I'll take myself out. Because I got to protect my people. So here we go. I'm going to put this right here real quick. Actually, let me put it somewhere else. Boom. So we'll read it from here. So, scammers call an individual asserting that the individual has been awarded a grant or a similar sum of money and request personal information. I begin emails like that, but they're in my junk box. Or a sum of money to release the funds. The Treasury does not have such a program. Likewise, emails promising a sum of money and purporting to be from the Treasury Secretary or his staff are false. We urge recipients of such calls or emails to be extremely wary of any scheme requiring an advance payment for a later promise of funds. So be extremely wary when a mortgagee or anyone try to tell you, hey, give us some money now and we'll give you the promise, and we promise to give you the funds later. Hell no, give me the funds first and then I'll pay you. So these are hallmarks of scams. So those are scams because you're lying to people and you're getting money from it and all this stuff. So a similar scam is a caller falsely representing that he is from the Internal Revenue Service or impersonating an investigator from this office and demanding payment or information. So if I was you, I would request for everyone in the IRS or the investigators of inspection to reveal their identification and their credential and their license. So when a cop stop you too, I need your license, I need your business card, and I need your badge number. I need to know who you are to make sure that you're not falsely representing anything or you're impersonator of anything. Because there's impersonators and there's false representers. So I need your credentials. I need your name, I need your badge number, I need your insurance number, and I need to see your oath of office, and I need to see your identification. You see? So write that down if you don't remember what I just said, because I kind of don't remember what I just said. I freestyled it out, but I'm going to watch this video and take my notes too. You know? So these callers have been described as threatening or abusive and tell victims they need to make immediate payment to forestall arrest. And that probably creates a lot of fear. So you call it threat and it's abuse. Because you scare people and you abuse their emotional damage, psychological attack. So these are frauds. They're all frauds and all bold. Please exercise caution in your dealings with anyone purporting to be from a government agency and demanding money or information. So exercise caution. Further exercise. So I'm exercising caution by asking the officer for his badge number, name, and identification so I can know who he is. So don't ask me for license or registration. Where is your license and registration? Is that vehicle behind me that you pulled over with the lights registered? Why you got the emergency lights on? You know the taxpayer people pay for that? Let me stop though. Don't ever say these things. You'll get your butt in the slammer, thrown right into the back of that tight seat van or truck or car. It's very tight back there, trust me. And they'll have you sitting in there for a while they do their paperwork. They're creating the commercial documents, which I call security agreements, that give them rights over your body. Then they get fingerprints and pictures and put information there, your name, give you a badge number or a jacket number, and then your case get bidded on to a bid bond and all this stuff. Now you're sold like a product. So watch out. So further information concerning one type of these frauds is available right here if you want to check it out. Warning about phone scams. So the United States Department of the Treasury, Office of Inspector General, investigates individuals' use of fraudulent treasury-related financial obligations or accounts to attempt purchases or pay debts. Boom. Let's read that again, because obviously they're trying to say you can't purchase or pay or do anything like that. So they investigate individuals. That word individual means something too. It's not a flesh and blood man. Use of fraudulent treasury related deposits in the United States Treasury and things like that, backed up by the United States government. Financial obligations or accounts to attempt purchases or pay debts. So fraud perpetrators across the nation, they call them fraudsters, across the nation have recently begun to use fraudulent promissory notes and or private bonds as vehicles to defraud investors out of hundreds of millions of dollars. So I'm not sure what type of promissory notes that they're using or private bond, but whatever they're doing is defrauding investors, which is a scam and a fraud. So I don't know what they're doing specifically that is designated such a harsh title, unless this is slander and defamation. So the Department of the Treasury is also aware of several fraudulent schemes that involve what are claimed to be securities issued by the Treasury Department or backed by the Treasury Department or another part of the United States government. So I don't know what they're doing when they say that, but it's considered fraud. So these scams have been directed towards banks, charities, individuals, and companies which seek payment on the fraudulent securities by sending them to the Treasury. So many of the scams originate from persons attempting to avoid paying obligations. So you think that the people are attempting to avoid paying obligations, but how can you pay when there's no gold or silver? So this is a contradiction of everything that they said before. So the Internal Revenue Service provides additional background and information on these scams. Check out here. So let me see what that is real quick. Alright, taxpayer, phishing scam, phishing malware, tax scams, dirty dozen, so telephone tax scams, tricks by IRS imposers, scam artists, IRS warns taxpayers to guard against new tricks by scam artists, etc. Yeah, this you gotta just save this stuff and check it out, because I will not be able to check this out. So don't fall victim to tax scams. Remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So these are some identity theft, phone scams, and stuff like that. Phony arguments. Okay, so they break down some more of the scams here. So that's a lot to look over. I'm not going to go into that right now, but you can go ahead and save that if you may. So another scheme is a variation of a common fraud generally known as redemption or acceptance for value. That's messed up. That's very messed up. That incorrectly asserts the United States government has trust accounts linked to each citizen. But that cannot be proved that there's a trust account. There's no real true account. They're drawing IOUs from your social security account, not trust account, but social security trust funds. But I'm not going to say nothing about that, because obviously they're trying to say everything's a fraud and that the only way to pay debt is dollar bills. That's illegal. Can't pay a debt with a debt. And I'm pretty sure they say that's a fraud too. Oh no, you can't say that. You can pay a debt with a debt. That's not fraud. We can emit bills of credit. We can ask you to pay in a particular coin. It's not against public policy. It's a scam to say that it is. Then why the hell did y'all write it then and say it? What the hell? So the theory is not supported in fact or law and has been soundly rejected by the federal courts. So if you go there and the federal courts talk about redemption or acceptance for value, which is incorrectly asserted, then you will be considered a scam artist or a fraudster. So perpetrators will annotate or stamp invoices with accept for value or similar language. And accept for value is governed by UCC Article 3. It's called a banker's acceptance. So, and value is in Article 3 UCC as well. It means consideration. So I don't know what the hell they talking about, but someone must have did their stuff incorrectly. And I have had success with this stuff. Or similar language with various numbers purporting to be account numbers. So they're not account numbers, especially when you use the number on the front of the social, which is the social security account number. So it is an account number, but not an account. And the number on the back after the routing number is not an account number. It's a serial number or a bond number. Like on a dollar bill, there's a letter and then there's numbers after it. That's called a serial number, a bond number. So we're dealing with bonds and shares and stuff like that. But people, I don't know what the hell people are writing on their documents, but yo, there's some stupid ass people in this world and they're messing things up for us all. purporting to be account numbers. So such annotations are without merit and establish no rights or privileges in any federal or state account or agency. So there got to be a way around that. So recently, Treasury Office of Inspector General has become aware of a different variation of this scheme. Individuals are obtaining routing numbers from Treasury bureaus, specifically the Financial Management Service (FMS) and the Bureau of the Public Debt, or a Federal Reserve Bank. And I didn't know that the FMS or BPD gave routing numbers. I didn't know that. And I got to study them more too, because obviously whoever was trying to work through them saw something. So Bureau of Public Debt and Financial Management Service, study them. I already know the Federal Reserve Bank and their regulations, like Regulation A, dealing with extension of credit, Regulation D, dealing with depository trust institutions, and they even said that paper dollars are currency. So I don't know what the hell else, They even said on their documents, and the Federal Reserve Act, Section 16, that paper money have a designated letter on it, and it connect to one of the 12 districts. So I don't know what the hell they saying here. Maybe they trying to scare people. And using these numbers to make the false notes appear genuine. So they almost look genuine, but the numbers are wrong. So people putting the wrong numbers and all that stuff, and then saying it's backed up by the United States. So when people try to cash them to get the discount and redeem them, they're not getting what they think they're gonna get. So people are doing something wrong on their documents. So further, many of these fraudsters hold seminars throughout the United States. And I agree, there's a lot of them across the United States. I cannot tell you who specifically, man, but I'm not even going to say polite part of that stuff. But there's a lot of these people, man, out there, man, telling you to do this, telling you to do that, making tons and tons and tons and tons of money, like the black card bull crap. Stay away from it. Stay away from that black card bull crap, man. I'm telling you. Y'all gotta watch out. They got some sharks out there. They're nothing like me. They don't got no good heart, no good faith. They don't know what they're doing. Some of them are clandestine agents of the CIA. They infiltrated a lot of these groups, and they're leading people down a hole. So now people are saying, forget this whole thing totally. I'ma just work and get dollars and just make paying debt with a debt lawful. And that's exactly what they want you to do. So that someone must be doing something wrong. Somebody. I don't know what it is, but I do know and believe there are fraudsters that hold seminars throughout the United States teaching attendees how to create these fictitious documents. Fictitious, not lawful documents, but fictitious, and how to use federal routing numbers. So individuals are now creating false checking accounts, because the Social Security Trust Fund account is not a checking account. It's a savings account with the federal routing numbers, using their Social Security number as the checking account number. That's why now on my bonds and notes, I put that it's a Social Security number, account number, Social Security Trust Fund number, so they can know it's a SSN and not a checking account number. Because it's not a checking account, it's a savings account. You see? And it has no account, there's no vault. It's an IOU based account. It's all book entry. So it's not a checking account like making a check. You can't make a check out of these things, you see? And there's nothing wrong with using these federal routing numbers because they're on the back of your Social Security card. But the way that these people are using it, using the Social Security as an account number and the Federal Reserve routing number, is fraudulent. Because the number for the account, which is really a serial number or a British control number or bond number, is on the back. It's the 8-digit number, and you can turn the letter into a 0 or just keep it like that. You see? And you must tell them it's a bond number, not an account number, man. It's a bond number or a serial number. You see? Like a dollar bill. So I think the people's language is off, it's inaccurate. Or I may be completely wrong. So this ain't legal or tax advice. All rights reserved. And listing the bank as either the FMS or the BPD. I don't know who the hell's doing that. So be advised that Treasury bureaus in the Treasury Direct program, because they call it a Treasury Direct account, do not offer checking accounts for the public. Not for the public, but for the private probably. But we're dealing with savings accounts. And they will not honor any of these checks. Will not. And they call these things checks. So people, if you're calling your bonds and notes and all this stuff checks, you're in big trouble. Because a check means you have money in the account already. And you're trying to take the money that you have in the account already to use. There is no money. There is no account. It's all promises and bonds. You see? And your entity is in charge of that obligation, which the Federal Reserve Routing Bank created. So you're not creating checks, you're making IOUs. We're extending credit, letters of credit governed by Article 5 UCC and Unicentral and the UCP, the Uniform Conduct of Extension of Credit or Line of Credit. So participating in these scams can result in serious criminal and civil penalties. So watch out. Please study thyself approved. Don't disregard or don't discredit the whole thing. Just study because I think people are onto something, but they're not touching it yet. Something's missing. So it is also a violation of federal law to misuse the Treasury seal or the words, titles, symbols, or emblems of the Treasury Department or any service, bureau, office, or Treasury subdivision. So see United States Code Title 31 333, and that's the same title that deals with the HJR 192 in Section 5118. So click the links below for specific information on sample fraudulent schemes and documents that falsely use name of Treasury bureaus or officials. So they're doing these things wrong. And I will watch out when using these names, Treasury and United States government and all this stuff, because those names are copywritten and trademarked. So are their laws too, like UCC and all that stuff. So do watch out. Watch out. So these and similar documents are not valid negotiable financial instruments because these people have no clue about negotiable instruments, UCC3, bills of exchange, Unicentral, as well as the Bill of Exchange Act of 18 something and the Negotiable Instrument Act of 18 something, 1854 or some junk. So there's laws that govern negotiable instruments, but these are not valid ones. It's incomplete. Now, if you look at your note with your mortgagee, how do they create it? Look at a note with a mortgagee, and you'll understand a true promissory note. They make money from that one. Bail bonds, they make money from those ones. You know what I'm saying? When you go get an extension of credit from a bank, they make money from those too. But why and how? So you gotta examine those documents to understand how and why, and you got to see what they consider scam so you can avoid the errors and mistakes in those documents so it can be considered a valid negotiable financial instrument. You see? Boom. And recipients should not accept them or attempt to use them, or you'll be in trouble. So scams claiming to be from the Treasury Inspector General. So let's go right here to, let me see. So alright, let's go down here and we're going to check out some examples of this real quick. Because this is extremely important. And nobody's talking about this stuff, man. I had to do it. Sorry guys, but I had to do it. Not trying to build fear or anything like that, but y'all need to know. I care about my people, man. If I didn't, I probably would have just kept it to myself and not warn you. So I gotta warn everyone now each time we do this that If you don't do it right, it can be considered fraud or a scam. So watch out if you don't do it right. I don't know what anybody else is teaching you, but I teach y'all the truth. Whatever you mixing, what I taught you with, I don't know. I don't know what the hell you're mixing them, how much videos you're watching, how much worthless meat you're filled up with like a sausage. So let's let this pop up real quick. Hallelujah, who I know. They're watching you, Google. Ooh. Wait, what the heck just happened right there? Oh, okay, okay, I got it. So what it is a download. So this is gonna be a picture of it or something like that. Alright, come on, baby. Let me see where we are on time. Alright, thank you. Come on, baby. Pop up for me. Yeah, I know. Boom. Hallelujah, who I know. Alright, here we go. So fraud alert. Scammers claiming to be the Treasury Inspector General. So there are dozens of scams floating in cyberspace claiming that Treasury has grant money for you, claiming you're about to be arrested if you don't pay Treasury agents, or claiming that Treasury is holding millions of dollars in your name under some complex, obscure, and totally false legal analysis. Who the hell is doing this, man? Y'all dumbasses getting us in trouble, man. What the hell y'all doing? Yo, man, y'all people tripping, man. Who the hell out there doing that? Like the make money or work at home scams too that they have all over YouTube, or just apply for this program and they'll start depositing money in your PayPal. Come on, man, y'all are tripping, man. Y'all scammers do need to be behind bars, man. Y'all effing up everything for everybody. So as our fraud alert link explains, these scams and others are all lies. So recently we found a twist on these scams where the email, letter, or phone call actually claims to be from the Treasury Inspector General Eric M. Thorson. Some have convincing details about his career, appear to be on Treasury letterhead, and have links to email addresses such as ericthorson.oig@usa.com. These are frauds. Do not believe them and do not respond to them. Please send them to OIG Council at oig.treasury.gov, because that's them, they're gov. We will work to shut them down. Yo, that is crazy. Yeah, y'all better watch out, because I be getting those emails too, but I always knew something was wrong, because like they said, if it's too good to be true, then most likely, they didn't tell you it is, but most likely it may be. You see, most likely it may be. So when I be seeing them send texts like, please help me and my family, we're going to transfer $100 billion. I never answered to that junk. Oh man, you won $100 million today. Just claim your reward. Hell no. You get a phone call, you got a free vacation to the Bahamas. Click. I don't listen to none of that, because if I didn't earn it, I don't deserve it. And plus on top of that, before I got into this realm, it took me a while to believe all of this stuff to begin with, that the world's under credit, that there's no substance in circulation. It took me a while to digest that a dollar's nothing but a promissory note, until I heard them say for themselves. I heard the Treasury for themselves say it, especially in the modern money mechanics, and they are from the Treasury. They actually stopped giving out publications because they were exposing too much. Everything's book entry. So there is a way to do this, and there's a way to get in trouble. So how marketable Treasury securities work. So to understand the fraudulent schemes and phony financial instruments involving what are claimed to be marketable United States Treasury securities, it should not be marketable because it's security trust fund accounts. It's important for you to learn more about marketable United States Treasury bills, notes, and bonds. So learn more about marketable United States Treasury bills, notes, and bonds. So let me go ahead and put that right here. Yo, people are tripping, man. So how securities are sold? So they do call them securities, and they do sell them like your notes and your bill bonds. So it's true, but people are doing something wrong. So marketable treasury securities are sold at public auctions on a regular auction schedule. They even tell you, let me download that. Well known to market participants. So it's the secondary market that deals with that, and there's participants in it, which you call investors. That's why when you make those fraudulent bonds and notes, you defraud and pretty much rob those investors of their investment. So I don't know if that's gonna pop up, but I'm gonna continue on. Whoa. Hold on, let's see what happened here. So they do sell our securities and notes and bonds in the stock market. So people are right about that. They're right about that. That's solid right there. That's for certain. Oh, so they tell you the dates and the times right here and all that. Let me make it big for y'all out of consideration. So settlement dates, auction dates, announcement dates, security types, 3-year notes, 10-year notes, 30-year bonds. So there's a schedule to it and all that. But that's all 2012 though. Any 2015 here? Well, they're giving you like some example, And here are some what they might call it legends. So these 2-year notes, like promissory notes, 5-year notes, and they sell them like they sell the houses in a trustee sale. Really, they're not selling the house, they're selling the certificate of title. So those are securities, asset, documents, and they do have your information on there, like social and stuff like that. So somebody's doing something wrong. So it's well known to the market participants. We announce the auctions far in advance to allow investors to prepare for the sale. We do not issue securities through private placements, nor do we license financial entities or individuals to act as intermediaries to sell marketable treasury securities. So they do not license financial entities or individuals to act as banks to sell marketable treasury securities. So although we do not designate financial institutions to sell treasury bills, notes, and bonds, they are available through banks and brokerages. So banks and brokers can sell those notes too, like they deal your house. So types of treasury securities, marketable treasury securities, exist in 3 forms. Book entry, boom, accounting. An overwhelming majority, over 99%, might as well call it 100%, exists in book entry form. So what are they truly losing and risking? Nothing. But they want you to play by their game or you'll be going to jail for fraud. That's all. It's just a game. So 100% exists in book entry form. It got to be recorded and reported. Securities in book entry form exist not as printed certificates, but as computer records on our books, ledger books, accounting, as a revenue, a deferred payment, accounts payable and receivable, credited and debited to the ledger balance books, and on the books of banks, and government securities brokers, 1099B, and dealers. So book entry securities, book entry notes, first became available in 1968. So you've been doing this for a while, bills of exchange and all that stuff. Since 1986, we have issued marketable securities in book entry form only. Since 1986, they have been issuing marketable securities in book entry form only. So book entry securities first became available in 1968. This was after the 1933 H.J.R. 192, Mother of Credit, because H.J.R. 192, Public Law 73-10, Chapter 48, Statute at Large 112, which they call 48 Stat. 112, is what gave life to this credit system. Because they abrogated the gold, Roosevelt Wilson, or whatever his name is, and all that stuff, and they took away our gold and gave us a substitute, a remedy, a solution in place of the problem, which was unlimited credit upon the faith and credit of the United States. And people been using this stuff wrong, but they're onto something. You know, I am onto something, you're onto something, but someone's not doing something right. So they're getting people in trouble. Or there's agents out there spreading disinformation. I'm not sure. But like I said, I have had success with what I've done. I'm just warning you guys, just in case, if you don't know what you're doing, because I don't want to be blamed just in case I may be doing something wrong, you know? How do I know? Especially while I'm getting success, you know? Like, what the heck? So bearer, a small percentage, less than 1%, exists in bearer form. So most of the securities and notes are in bearer form, which means it's not to an identified person. So because it doesn't have an identified person on it, anybody can cash the note. Look at a bearer, the word bearer under Uniform Commercial Code. So a bearer security or a bearer-based note without a specific identified party is a printed certificate, like a birth certificate, with interest coupons attached. Interest coupons, which mean prepaid coupons, which are credits. A bearer security does not contain the name of the owner, and we do not keep records of ownership. So there's no owner or nothing, which means there's no holder in due course, because no one claimed to be the holder or owner. So anyone can cash it. But less than 1% exists in that form. So title to a bearer security passes on delivery. So once it's delivered, or once someone picks it up, that's a delivery. So whoever is bearing that bond or security can cash it. We make interest and principal payments to the presenter. So when you present it to the Treasury, they pay interest and principal based on the United States faith and credit, which is our tax funds. So we make interest and principal payments. They make the payments because it's a liability on their books and an accounts receivable asset on our side to the presenter, me or you, of the interest coupons and certificate. So interest-based coupons and certificate, like birth certificate. So we discontinued the issuance of bearer securities in 1982. Because it probably caused too much problems. Like, you know, terrorists get a hold of that thing, they can cash it and get weapons with the thing. So there got to be some rules governing who gets the money, right? Or anybody will get the money, right? That would not be good. Especially if terrorists are watching these videos and trying to learn how they can defraud us, the people. So there got to be some form of bulwarks and security guards to, you know, protect the system. So, you know, that's why some people kept ignorant or in the dark, so certain things would not be exposed. So registered. Less than 1% of outstanding marketable securities exists in registered form. So usually it's not registered. So a registered security is a printed certificate, like a birth certificate, with the name of the owner stated on the face of the security, so they let themselves be known. We maintain records of ownership like vital statistics and issue semi-annual interest payments to the owner of record, because it's recorded like a holder in due course with a bona fide perfected claim on the Uniform Commercial Claim Code. So only the owner may submit the registered security at maturity for payment, which would be you when you turn 18. Maturity, when you become old enough to take care of your own bond, your own birth certificate, and social security card. It gives you special access. They call it a national association in the Federal Reserve Act. So the owner can transfer his or her registered security. You can transfer it, you can assign it, especially through UCC, by filing out an assignment form on the back of the certificate, by saying transferred to or assigned to or paid to the order of or credit to on the back of the actual certificates, bonds, and notes. And this is how they transfer, pass around, and do things with this note. And it's payment. It's currency. It keeps the system moving currently until we get gold and silver back, or true lawful substance. But that's not going to happen. We're going to like a Bitcoin type of system. Look up Bitcoin, Bitcoin, and we're about to go into the euro, Amero, and all this other type of currency, the mark of the beast chip and all this stuff. So we're going into a digital age. Eventually your credit card, your credit history, your hospital history, educational history, driver's license history, legal history, dental history, all that's going to be in one little tiny chip the size of a rice, which is called the radio frequency identification chip, a national identification card. And they're going to take this chip and put it in your wrist, in your vein, and all of your credit, hospital credit history, license, everything, identification will be on this chip. You see? So everything's about to change, and no one's preparing anybody for that too. So if you're not investing in gold, silver, or bitcoins at this moment, when the bank shut down, when the government shut down again, you're gonna have big trouble. So 4:44 p.m. Hallelujah. Plus they're gonna cut down on benefits and all that. So people are gonna have big trouble. They're gonna be in desperate times. So we adjust our ownership records to show transfers. So they adjust the record and all that to show the new stockholder or shareholder, really stockholder. So we discontinued the issuance of registered securities in 1986. So how book entry securities are held. There are 3 systems in which investors can hold marketable book entry treasury bills, treasury notes, and treasury bonds. Trades, also called the commercial book entry system. It's a commercial book entry system. And they call them treasury notes, bills, and bonds because the treasury stamps this symbol on it. Once they get it, it looks just like this. They stamp that on it. That's the treasury seal. Once they stamp that on your note, it becomes a treasury bond and note. If they don't have that on it, then it's not considered it yet, and they don't have to accept it as treasury. But once they stamp it, it's a form of acceptance, and then they can flip it in the stock market and do this and that. So trades, also called the commercial book entry system, is a tiered system of ownership accounts held at securities intermediaries such as the Security Exchange Commission, the National Security and Homeland Security, as well as the Federal Trade Commission, such as banks, brokerage firms, and securities clearing organizations like the Automated Clearing House, ACH, all governed by Regulation D. Depository institutions like DTC, DTCC, the QSIP, and all that stuff. So we cannot identify individual owners in this system. The institutions acting as securities intermediaries or custodians, trustees for investors, maintain ownership records. Holdings in trades amount to about 97.2% of the outstanding marketable debt. So they market your debt, your obligation, like your notes, bonds, notes, bills. So Legacy Treasury Direct and Treasury Direct are two other systems for holding book entry treasury securities. So the Treasury issues a statement of account. Statement of account is governed by UCC Article 9. Evidencing ownership, because they have to have a proof of record to prove ownership to the investor. So unlike Treasury securities held in the commercial book entry system, we know the identity of the ultimate holder of the Treasury securities held in Legacy Treasury Direct and Treasury Direct systems. That's probably why people call it a Treasury Direct account. But it may not be a Treasury Direct account. How do you have proof? Is it is specifically this or specifically that? And what's the difference between a Treasury Direct and Legacy Treasury Direct that you're putting that this is a prepaid Treasury Direct account or prepaid Legacy Treasury Direct account? What if it's a preferred stock or common stock? What if it's none of those? And you're putting these names there and people are writing the wrong things on things. You'll get in trouble. You'll be considered a fraud even though you're not. And these are all the executive branches here. So you may want to check those out. The Office of the Comptroller of Currency, OCC, all that governs accounting and how this thing works. So now let's go to the next one. So now that we learned how marketable treasury things work. So scams involving treasury securities. Examples of phony securities. Historical bond fraud. Prime bank instrument fraud. Please stay with me. It's important for y'all to know this. How to protect yourself from investment scams. Because they're revealing to you your remedy, whether you know it or not. It's in between the lines. So read in between it. So other fraud sites of interest. Prohibition against misuse of treasury names, terms, symbols, stationery, etc. of the treasury. And bogus site drafts or bills of exchange drawn on the treasury. I'm not going to go on this computer cop software. So neither the Treasury nor the Treasury Executive Office for Asset Forfeiture endorses this or any other particular product, and the use of equitable sharing funds does not in any way imply such an endorsement. A letter purporting to be from the Treasury Executive Office for Asset Forfeiture link is not genuine. And these are some additional stuff like examples and proof, and we'll get to go into that. So let's check this out real quick. Let me tap on these to help it load up a little bit quicker. Hallelujah, who I knew for intellect and knowledge and understanding. So here, it says scams involving treasury securities. African governments Alright, so the scam for 419 scam. Alright, so fraud alert. Nimrod group, what the heck is that? So alright, we don't really need to read this anyway too. Foreclosure review. Fraud alert. Lottery scam. I'm not going to be going to that. Western Union to obtain lottery winnings is told to go to Western Union, call the telephone, and provide code to an Edward Brown. What the heck is people doing, man? What the heck? Yo, this is trippy. Fake official email. Oh yeah, this is an example. Commercial email beneficiary. Their beneficiary. My name is Jack Lou. Yo, people are tripping. You can pause and check that out if you want. But these are all forms of scams that people try to use against us and stuff. And yo, people are tripping. Oh my gosh. So renting or leasing, etc. Yo, they tripping. So scam artists often misuse public debt forms to try to prove ownership or to make the scam seem official. So the two forms that are commonly misused is these forms right here. So let me read this because this pertains to, you know, what I'm trying to show you guys. Misuse of QSIP numbers as evidence of ownership. This is everything that these sovereigns are teaching nowadays. Wow. So let's go right here. So misuse of public debt forms as evidence of ownership. So PDF 1832 special form of assignment for United States registered definitive securities, or PDF 1071 certificate of ownership of United States bearer securities. So the PDF 1832 and the PDF 1071 have nothing to do with book entry bills, notes, or bonds, unless there are securities physically attached to one of these forms. Unless there are securities, a note, bond, or bill, physically, tangibly attached to one of these forms. So the form is meaningless and worthless without that. We only use the PDF 1832 in some cases to correct defective assignments of securities already in our possession. We also sometimes use it for the assignment of a large number of securities, or where there is an assignment by two or more geographically separated owners. In all cases, the form is not valid unless the registered securities accompany the form. You heard? So we use the PDF 1071 to validate the ownership of bearer notes and bearer bonds that are presented for redemption. So there's nothing wrong with the word redemption either, or acceptance, or value. It's the way that people is using it. They're masking their fraud and their scam under those words, and it's destroying the clearness of what's value and acceptable and redeemable. Recoupment for collection only. So after they have become overdue, so it's presented for redemption after they become overdue. A bearer's security becomes overdue after the lapse of between 1 and 6 months time from its face maturity date. So every bond got a maturity date, depending, unless it's on demand, on site, on draft. So depending on the original term, the term of the security. So the securities and notes have terms, such as 3 months for a 3-year note, and etc. So scam artists try to use the forms as evidence that they hold the securities and claim that the forms can convey ownership or title to the securities listed on the forms. But if you look at such a form, you should see that the scam artist is misusing the form and cannot prove ownership of the securities listed. For instance, a typical misuse PDF 1071 will fail to list serial numbers. Boom, they call them serial numbers for any bearer securities allegedly owned. and will fail to provide information explaining why the securities were not presented for payment before they became overdue. So they got to provide information explaining why they did not present this on time. So the latter occurs because the bearer's securities allegedly owned have not reached maturity at the time the form is misused. So that's the other thing, people trying to get the security before its maturity date. So you need information about this bond, serial numbers, you know what I'm saying, serial numbers, maturity date, a value, a owner, or if it's a bearer bond, you don't put an owner, terms. These are things that need to go on your bonds, but people are not doing these things. So misuse of QSIP numbers as evidence of ownership, like the red number on the birth certificate or the number on the back of the social security card, which are not QSIP numbers, man. The number on the birth certificate is a certificate number or a bond number. The number on the back of the social security is a serial number, or they also call it a bond serial number. You see? So it's a bond number. It bonds you. It's a contractual number. You can track things with it like a tracking number. But if you really look up the word QSIP and you look up for examples of a QSIP number, it looks nothing like the numbers on the back of the social or on the front of the birth certificate or on the back of the apostille, if not on the front. So how the hell is it a QSIP number when it doesn't look like one or act like one or function like one? You know what I'm saying? These people are saying the wrong thing. Like the difference between a social security number, a tax identification number, and an EIN number is where the dashes are at. So if it's not if you're doing an EIN, it'll be 00 dash and the rest of the numbers. If you're doing a social security number, it'll be 000 dash 00 dash 0000. So the dashes let you know if it's a social security number or an employer identification number or a tax identification number or federal employer identification number or individual tax identification number, ITIN. So there's a difference between all these things. So when you're calling a bond number a serial number, like a number on the front of a dollar bill, a QSIP number, you just gave it the wrong identity. You can get in trouble for that too. That's why I made sure I studied this stuff thoroughly before I started saying anything. Especially once I started to learn that there was fraud among the Israelite nation and among everything. There's lies everywhere, man, and especially in this free man movement junk. I'm not part of none of that. So scam artists will also use a valid QSIP number of a treasury security that trades regularly in the market. So a potential victim can get pricing information and confirm that we did issue the security. They did issue the security. So QSIP is an acronym for the Committee on Uniform Securities Identification Procedures. Now, there is a way to find the QSIP number behind the birth certificate and the social through Fidelity.com and various stock markets. I don't know how to do it all the way, although I know how to find how much my birth certificate is worth and all that. And they do give you QSIP numbers and all that. But yeah, obviously they're selling our securities in the stock market, and they do use QSIP numbers on them sometimes. But you got to know the difference between a certificate number and its QSIP number. So the QSIP number is usually kept secret, you see, if not that red number. So each security issue, stocks, corporate, municipal, or treasury securities, have a unique QSIP number. So yeah, they do have a unique QSIP number, the birth certificate and all that. The QSIP number is public information, and it identifies an entire issue of a security. The date delivered, how much it's worth, who is the registered owner of it, who is the fund manager, custodian of it, the broker. You got to get into stock and all that to understand that stuff. It does not identify any specific security, nor does mere use of it show ownership. So there's these other places too, the London, blah, 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 blah. So we only sell securities at public auctions. I'm gonna just save this. And it's impossible for them to honor the request. So this is why you may not be getting success. And if it is fraud too, they'll send it back. So if they don't send it back, obviously they kept it. But they want to see what you know. They call it like a test period. So here's a fraudulent certificate of ownership of United States bearer securities. So obviously this one does have a serial number. So this is that form, PDF 1071, Department of Treasury, Bureau of Public Debt, OMB number, Office of Management Bureau. So important, follow the instruction to fill out this form. You should be aware that the making of any false, fictitious, or fraudulent claim to the United States is a crime punishable by imprisonment of not more than 5 years or a fine up to $250,000 or both under Title 18 United States Code, Section 287, and Title 18 United States Code 3571. And I'm going to write that down because this is what governs fictitious and fraudulent claims, especially when debtors try to come after your butt. And debt collectors. So additional Title 31 USC 3729 provides for civil penalties for the maker of a false or fraudulent claim to the United States of an amount not less than $5,000 and not more than $10,000 plus treble, which is punitive damages. The amount of the I think I'm right. I may be wrong about the treble amount of the government's damages as an additional sanction. Yeah, it may mean punitive damages. So then you put your information. I bloody bloody ya, am of age and resident. I bloody yada ya. I certify that I am a lawful owner of the following described bearer security and the total face amount of gazillion dollars. So loan title, all this stuff. I'm not gonna go through it too much, but so notice that the submitter of this form used a QSIP number, which in this case described an entire strip component issue, rather than serial numbers. So they put this is a QSIP number. This is what it looks like. But they put that there instead of a serial number, like on the back of the social, which describes specific definitive securities and components. QSIP numbers are public information. So also notice that the submitter of this form was unable to complete item 3 because he was attempting to misuse this form to claim ownership of strip components, strip bonds that had not matured. So right here, it said, check this out right here. Item 3. Oh, item 3 is right here. So that connects right here. Oh, and that's the date that they probably try to submit it. So I did not present the securities for payment at their face maturity dates or before they became overdue because they skipped the explanation. So this is incomplete. So this right here will be a frivolous filing and you would get a notice from them. Then you got to get it notarized and stamped and all this other stuff, and then you ship it off. So I'm going to save that. Where we at on time? Hallelujah. So here's another example, phony securities. They got people calling these things limited edition treasury securities and stuff. So alright, let's read this. So these are phony securities. So limited edition treasury securities. So some foreign individuals and groups are trying to sell fictitious United States Treasury securities referred to as limited edition Treasury securities. As part of this scheme, entities such as broker-dealers and banks are being approached to act as fiduciaries for transactions. So the proposal to sell these fictitious securities makes misrepresentations about the way marketable securities are bought and sold. So marketable securities, securities and notes, bonds, and bills that are marketable are bought and sold. And it also misrepresents the role that we play in the original sale and issuance of our securities. So watch out for any bonds or phony securities that say limited edition. I haven't heard of some of these things, so I know I'm not involved in those stuff. So United States Treasury bills, 1 year fresh cut. So these fictitious securities are being offered for sale. A person who said he was a consultant to less developed or third world countries offered an individual these securities, like from Africa or India, like, I need your help and all this stuff. And I had people text me that stuff. So this transaction was for $500 billion, an astounding amount in itself. In another incident, a large government securities dealer was contacted to enter into a transaction involving these securities. We never issued any treasury bills that were named 1 year fresh cut. What the hell is that? I've never heard of that in all the accounting stuff I've read in my history thus far as a 27-year-old. So the United States dollar bonds. So we get many inquiries, mostly from the Far East, about these bonds being issued in the 1930s or early 1940s by the CIA to help Chiang Kai-shek fight the communists. Nah, CIA is involved with all that because the CIA are communists. So it is alleged that they have been buried in caves by his generals and their heirs and have recently been unearthed, which means discovered. They are now being fraudulently offered at a fraction of their face value. So they're being offered less than what they're really worth, which is a sign of fraud. Because why would you give this ancient stuff away for half its price? You would actually give it a little over its price or keep it. Think about it. So these securities are not genuine and do not bear provisions that even remotely resemble United States Treasury securities. So click the view, a full-size image of the thumbnail image pictured. I'm about to do that. What the hell were these people thinking? Man, I hope this video becomes helpful for many because y'all need to be informed about the pros and cons about this commercial realm that you're engaging in. So here we go. Let me make this smaller. And look at, I can already see Washington's head on it. Control minus, control minus, control minus. Come on, baby. Okay, there we go. So this serial number is used repeatedly on these. So this is what it looks like. And I'm not trying to tell you to engage in fraud, but you can learn a lot from looking at these because obviously the government probably fell for these for a while and thought these were genuine because they almost do look genuine. But check out the few key things that makes it fraudulent. Just a little few things. So note the use of graphics lifted from United States currency. Using symbols and stuff, you're going to get in trouble. So they call this the Ministry of Finance of United States of America, misusing the United States dollar bond. This is misuse of this. And they put the letter B, which connect to one of the 12 banks, and you can see these symbols on the dollar. So, and then there goes these numbers. This serial number is used repeatedly. So there's nothing wrong with serial numbers, but they're using this one repeatedly on all the documents. You see? And it's on all the documents. They don't even change the serial number. So obviously, these two is a no-no. Don't put these symbols on your stuff. That's a no-no. This right here is a no-no because it's the same number over and over and over, but there's nothing wrong with serial numbers because every note got serial number. So the terms right here, there's nothing wrong with the terms and all that. That's why they didn't say anything about it or point out to it. Because terms are custom made to the people making a transaction, a debtor and creditor, because this is supposed to resemble a debt. obligation, a debt, a financial instrument. So right here it says the United States dollar bond is not a valid obligation of the United States because they're not even from the United States. Like, who the hell are they? Who are you? But it looks pretty legit when you probably look at it. It's a fraudulent item. So right here, note the use of the signature of Donald Reagan, who served as Secretary of the Treasury during the 1980s, not the 1930s. This would be a 1930 bond. But he wasn't even in office until freaking, 5 years later. 50 years later. So this is fraudulent as hell. They're off. And they're using treasury seals and all this stuff. Craziness. That will get you in jail. When this United States dollar bond was allegedly issued. So they've issued this in the 1930s or whatever. But Donald Reagan wasn't even in office until 1980. Because it's usually the president when he's in office that endorses the bill. So, like the Bill of Rights. So note the use of another graphic lifted from United States currency, which is the Treasury seal. So they make a lot of them. It's all fraudulent. Stay away from things like that. So let's continue on. So now fraudulent federal notes or bonds. So these bogus securities are commonly known as Morgenthau's. Henry Morgenthau Jr. was Secretary of the Treasury in 1934. These federal notes are not currency, nor are they bearer bonds. They are crude forgeries that appear to have originated out of the Philippines. The story being told is that the United States shipped them to Philippine freedom fighters during the World War II to help with the war effort. Some investors have brought them to us in so-called Federal Reserve metal boxes, along with other related certificates such as, these people are crazy. What the heck is people doing, man? Y'all messing up everything for everybody. Making me scared to do anything. So, but you should not be afraid though. You just got to learn more about these stuff. So before we continue, we're going to look at some pictures of it. Hallelujah. Come on, baby. Come on. You can do it. Alright, so this is one. So it says at the top, Federal Reserve. What the hell did that say? Federal Reserve something. So it says the United States of America. They misused that name. USA bond, global immunity. They used the United States seal, the eagle, signatures and everything. So obviously a bond consists of signatures, a value and all that, but you should not, if you're working in private jurisdiction, you should not put certain of these things on there, the treasury symbols and stuff. And by the way, the routing number and numbers on the back is for private use. It's not for public marketable use. So it's for drawing IOUs, not for marketable. So it's different between marketable securities and security trust fund securities, which is not marketable. It's an IOU, which means you don't have to sell it to get the money. You draw it from the account, you see, as a drawer on the IOU or a maker. So that's one fraudulent bond they're talking about. Here's the other one. Shrink this baby down. Look at that. They're all using the seal and all. So Federal Reserve System, that's what it said. So the United States of America, USA bond, etc. There goes the Treasury seal. They're not supposed to be using that. That's a big no-no. So this certifies that the bond issued by the United States of America in an amount of $25 billion are insured by the Federal Bank Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC. So, yo, these people are tripping. So let's continue on. Let's look at some more, because we can learn a lot from just seeing these people's errors. And there goes another one, gold bullion. And, you know, they all look like they got the same serial numbers and stuff, you know. They got one number here and one number here. Oh, here it is. So this certifies that the bond of $100 million issued by the United States of America are bonded of gold by the Federal Reserve in the amount of $25,000. So we should not put things like that. Alright. So that's crazy. So these crude forgeries, they're forgeries, were likely made by inserting images of 100, 1,000, and even $1 bills into a computer program, then altering the amounts to read 100 million or 500 million and adding coupons in both English and Chinese script. So most were printed on modern color printers or copiers, which did not exist in 1934. So that gives it away. So when these bogus notes are alleged to have been issued, so the U.S. Treasury did not issue securities bonds in 100 million or 500 million denominations during the period alleged in this fraud, because then we would have been in bankruptcy even quicker. So the largest Federal Reserve note ever printed was $100,000 and was only used inside the banking system. For more information of this currency item, please read. So they call these currencies an item. Please review the Treasury Resource Center fact frequently asked questions. So far, these things do not apply to me or you. So let me continue on. So de facto Treasury securities. So this term usually appears in offers to assign, rent, or lease United States Treasury securities to an offeree for a fee for a certain time period. These securities are bogus since we have never issued any de facto Treasury securities. And Philippine victory notes. I'm not going to read this. You can go ahead and read this if you want, because I know I'm not in the Philippines. So these people are tripping. So let's check this out. This picture. So these are what they consider fraudulent. Not necessarily what we're doing, because I'm not engaging in bonds and notes like that anyway until I gain success from it or something, and it's based on accounting and the laws governing everything. So it took me a minute to even engage in it or talk about it or anything. I barely talk about that. But acceptance for value, I had success with that by accepting the debt for value and becoming the holder in due course and returning it for discharge. And I do use my routing number and serial number to reference who is the identified party discharging that debt. So this is not a valid obligation of the United States. So, whoa, this one nearly looked legit. So note that the altered, written out denomination does not match the numeric denomination. So it said this is $100 million, but right here this says $100. So that's crazy. So note that the scam artist has attached bogus coupons in foreign language. Bogus coupons, all these things right here. So this is all bogus, man. These people are off. So everything is right on here except this and that. So if it wasn't for this and that, and this number missing some numbers, the serial number missing numbers, it would look almost legit. So this is fraud to the utmost. That nearly looked like $1. I probably would have took that off their hand. All right. So let me see if I have any more pictures. So we've seen that. All right. So let me see. We got this too. Boom. 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 So historical bond fraud. So historical bonds are those bonds that were once valid obligations of American entities but are now worthless as securities, are quickly becoming a favorite tool of scam artists because they're no longer valid. They're worthless. So here are several things that you should know about them. So types of historical bonds used for fraud. So although all sorts of historical bonds are collected and traded, historical railroad bonds comprise most of the bonds used to perpetrate fraud. Railroad bonds remind me of the Social Security Trust Fund, but that's what they call it now. So historical railroad bonds commonly used by scam artists include those issued by the Chicago, Cigna, and Canada Railroad Code, the East Alabama and Cincinnati Railroad Code, the Mad River and Lake Erie Railroad Code, the Galveston, Houston, and Henderson Railroad Code, and the Richmond and New York River Railroad Code. These railroad bonds are but a few of the 12,000 to 15,000 varieties of historical railroad bonds that are known to exist. So non-railroad historical bonds commonly used by scam artists includes bonds issued by the Noonday Mining Code. People tripping. So lies used. Lie. Historical bonds are payable in gold. Fact. Historical bonds are not payable in gold. So historical bonds are not valid obligations. Even if they were valid obligations, they would not be payable in gold because gold clauses in bonds issued before 1977 are unenforceable in United States courts because of H.R. 192 and all that. So even if they were valid obligations, they would not be payable in gold or a particular currency. And this law right here look good. So it's called Adams versus Burlington Northern RR Code 80F.3D 1377 1380 9th Circuit 1996. So I'm going to save this whole thing right here because obviously they can't ask for a particular coin still because that would be like a gold clause. So they're admitting that the gold clause is abrogated, you see? So there's something wrong about what people are doing. So lie. Historical bonds are backed by the Treasury Department. Fact. Historical bonds are not and have never been backed by us. So while historical bonds often have the words United States of America printed on them, these references were merely to identify the bonds as issued by entities located in the United States. Nowhere on historical bonds are there any statements that the bonds are issued or backed by us or any other part of the United States government. Only in limited and well-known circumstances have we guaranteed obligations issued by private parties. For example, the bonds issued by the Chrysler Corporation in the early 1980s, before I was born. So lie. The Treasury Department has established a federal sinking fund to retire historical bonds. Fact. Liquidating funds. Fact. There is no federal sinking fund or liquidation to retire historical bonds. So it's done and it's worthless now. Word. The International Chamber of Commerce is the one who deal with the letters of credit. UCP. Something like that. So as these historical bonds were neither issued nor backed by us or any other part of the United States government, it would be patently absurd to suggest that we would establish a sinking fund to retire these historical bonds. So I'm gonna skip around because we don't really need to deal with that. None of us are dealing with those type of bonds. So these are worthless bonds, phony bonds. Historical bonds are worthless as securities. That's the sum up of that. So scam artists, authentication, bogus, hypothecated, hypothetical, despite so a typical valuation will falsely overstate the value of these bonds by assuming erroneously that despite the unenforceability of the gold clauses contained in the bonds, in the defunct and bankrupt status of most of the bonds issuers, some person or entity is obligated to redeem the bonds in gold bullion. Security and Exchange Commission versus Gerald A. Dobbins et al. So this person probably went to jail for that. So those are misstatements. So it says scam artists using such valuations may also make the false assertion that while perhaps not payable today in gold or in money, the bonds are used in high yield trading programs in the United States, offshore and in Europe. So they know that it's not payable in gold because we don't have gold and they call it money. So that's proof that gold is money and we can't really pay. So when you use the word pay too, you can get in trouble because we can't pay. We can only discharge, defer payments, and book entry, discharge debt, and all that stuff. So we neither issue these bonds nor are they payable in gold, backed or guaranteed by us or any other part of the United States government. So you can look at this right here. So courts have held that the CSNC bonds have only nominal value as collectibles. So obviously those are what they did call, historical fraud. So let's continue on. So prime bank investment fraud. So let's see what these are right here. Discounted United States Treasury securities, International Monetary Fund. So alright, let's standby letters of credit, International Chamber of Commerce, ICC letters of credit. So let me see. So those are prime bank investment frauds right here. Prime. So let me go ahead and save that. We're about to wrap this up for the day. So let me see. So common examples. In these schemes, the fraud artists purport to have access to a secret trading program sanctioned by the Federal Reserve Bank, the Treasury Department, the World Bank, the International Chamber of Commerce, or International Monetary Fund, IMF. Read about a fairly common example of how this fraudulent world is explained to potential investors. So the more the explanation given to you resembles this explanation, the more likely you're being offered a fraudulent investment. So various prime bank trading programs or similar trading programs that offer secret private investment markets which purport to offer above average market returns with below market risk through the trading of bank instruments are fraudulent. So offering such programs or claiming to be able to introduce investors to people who have access to such programs violates many federal laws, including criminal laws. So there are no secret markets in which banks trade securities because it's open. They told you it's the stock market. It's no secret no more. That's why it's the key word. Although they call it black market too. Representations to the contrary are fraudulent. Alright, I see exactly what they're saying. So they're saying that it's backed by the government and all this stuff. So there's not much to see there. Oh, look at this. So it is illegal to engage in fraud in the offer or sale of a security. Under most circumstances, it is also illegal to sell securities that have not been registered with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, period. A security includes the following items: note, stock, bond, and debenture, and more general terms such as investment contract, and any interest or instrument commonly known as a security. So designating such instruments as loans does not change their legal status as securities. So designating such instruments as loans does not change their legal status as securities. And they give us a court case ruling. I thought that was wrong. They said that it's bogus to talk about Supreme Court case laws. So obviously loans are securities in the legal sense. So warning signs. These are warning signs. I have never seen those things before. So these are things to look for. Fraudulent schemes, non-disclosure, good, clean, clear, and non-criminal origin. That strokes my mind. Federal Reserve approved, Treasury approved, which means they're trying too hard. All this other stuff. So prime bank debentures, notes, guarantees, letters of credit. Prime bank letters of credit. They can't do that. ICC 500 or 600 bank debenture instrument. IMF, International Monetary Fund, standby letters of credit. High yield promissory notes and bank notes. Prime insurance guarantees. Gotta watch out for these names. Discounted United States Treasury obligations. All this stuff. Like, what the heck is all this? Documentary letters of credit. So limited edition or de facto Treasury securities, United States dollar bonds, federal notes, medium or mid-term notes or bank notes, block funds letters or investment programs, documentary letters of credit, irrevocable pay orders. There's nothing wrong with documentary letters of credit, but irrevocable pay orders, collateral first debentures, money center bank. I never heard of none of this stuff. What the hell is people saying? Zero coupon LC. So here are more investment fraud phrases to watch out for. So secret trading program and blah 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 blah. Principal is guaranteed and secured by letters of credit. The funds will remain in bank account that only you are signer on. These funds will be used as collateral. Yada yada yada. So interest rates guaranteed from 6% to 100% to 1,000% each month. Program backed, approved, or sanctioned by the Federal Reserve Bank, FED, or FRB, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, or the International Chamber of Commerce, ICC, or the Treasury Department. This is important to understand too, these people, because they deal with the letters of credit and stuff like that. Wow, so you got all types of fraud. You got to watch out for that. I don't see nothing else. So let me see. Cash wire transfer, QSIP number. Those are key phrases. So alright, so they're not targeting whatever I'm doing. So standby letter of credit, SLC. Alright, so if I was you, I would check out more of that. So we're going to continue on, and we're going to see more examples of that. I think right here is the PDF that I had clicked on that we're trying to check on. So we're going to be wrapping it up in 1 minute. what is this right here? So the key to safety and profits and blah yada yada. I think they give some examples of these things here. How are investors' funds protected? So what is a bank guarantee? Can I participate through my United States bank or brokerage and blah 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 blah. Okay, so alright, so that's more information on that, but I'm not gonna be reading that here or nothing. So let's skip. So part 2, I'm gonna go into the actual more frauds, like in the actual tax code and all that. Right now this is still a warm-up, so part 2 I'm gonna go in. So you know the QSIP number, how to protect yourself for investment scams and all that stuff. Demand a statement from the financial institution holding book entry securities. The statement should be sent to you directly. Question the validity of any securities and information furnished to you with a trusted and informed source such as your broker, accountant, or lawyer. Confirm that the certifying or holding organization is legitimate, still in business, and how long it has been in business. Call the organization for specifics on the purported existence of the securities. Ask if person offering the investment is registered with the Security Exchange Commission or with the securities agency in the state or country where you live. And do not assume that people or organizations are who you say they are. So this also will be especially, okay, that bear QSIP number of these numbers right here. Demand that the offerer produce the securities or evidence of ownership. If they can't, you should not consider the offer genuine. So I'm going to go ahead and save this too. If you want to pause and check that out, you can, but I'm going to try to zing through this now so we can complete this part 1 and go into the tax stuff in part 2, because this is where it's going to get a little bit crazier. They start actually targeting A for V's itself. Right now we're targeting bonds and notes. So other fraud sites of interest, you can check these places out. Fraud warnings from other agencies, you can check all of that out. And etc. And helpful links and investigative help and etc. So I wonder, I'll check that out later too. So come right here, prohibition against misuse of treasury notes. So section 333 of Title 31 of the United States Code prohibits the misuse of names, terms, symbols, and stationery of the Department of the Treasury or its subdivisions for business activities that could be reasonably construed as falsely implying that such activities are authorized by the Treasury. So despite this legal prohibition, businesses sometimes send solicitations that are crafted to look like they are sent by Treasury. So these solicitations often contain disclaimers stating that the businesses are neither government agencies nor affiliated with any government agencies, but the use of any disclaimer is legally irrelevant to the determination of whether the statute has been violated. Statute 31. So it's important to check that out to make sure you're not misusing, abusing labels and terms of the feds, even if you put a disclaimer statement. Alright, so let's go back here. Alright, solicitations. Alright, don't really need anything there. So bogus site drafts. So bogus site drafts, bills of exchange drawn on the Treasury. So there's bogus bills of exchange. So there have been a proliferation of bogus site drafts and bills of exchange drawn in the United States Treasury Department. These documents have appeared in a majority of states and have been used in an attempt to pay for everything from cars to child support. So view image of a bogus site draft, etc. So we're about to take a look at it. So the story. The stripped down version of this scheme is as follows. When the United States went off the gold standard in 1933, the federal government somehow went bankrupt. Somehow, you niggas did it. Hold on, I gotta put this down. Hallelujah, Juano. So when they did abrogate the gold in 1933, they went bankrupt. With the help of the Federal Reserve Bank, England Bar, the government converted the bodies of its citizens, the people, into capital value, into investment. So our bodies, the people, the citizens, became the credit and faith of the U.S. So our stuff been pledged for the debt. So it's prepaid by our stuff. And they didn't ask us or disclose to us before they did it. So there got to be a revolution because they're engaging in the biggest fraud. I'm telling you. This government is engaging in the biggest form of fraud ever witnessed. And they talking about fraud and bogus site drafts and all this bull crap. You niggas are emitting bills of credit. That's illegal. And going against the Constitution and turning it into a crime to talk about. So supposedly by trading the birth certificates of United States citizens on the open market, so it's not secret, it's open. And they trade our birth certificates like everyone always says. So they converted the bodies of its citizens into capital value with the help of the feds. So after following a complicated process of filing uniform commercial code documents with either the Secretary of State of the person's residence or another state that will accept the filings, each citizen is entitled to redeem his or her value by filing out a site draft drawn on their non-existent Treasury Direct account. It's not called a Treasury Direct account. It's non-existent. So the scheme asserts that each citizen's social security number is also his or her account number. And it's not. It's the number on the back, and it's called the serial number. As a part of the scheme, participants also file false IRS Forms 830 and currency transaction reports in the name of law enforcement officials and other individuals they seek to harass. So the reality. Drawing such drafts on the United States Treasury is fraudulent and a violation of federal law. So do not use the number on the front as account number. It's a SSN account number, not a checking account number, but a SSN identification number. So it's just a cattle number. So the theory behind their use is bogus and incomprehensible. The Justice Department is vigorously prosecuting these crimes. Federal criminal convictions have occurred in several cases. The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency has tried to alert the banking community to this fraud. So cease suspicious transactions, fictitious site drafts. So we'll see that. So a note on bills of exchange. So with early and vigorous prosecution by the Justice Department on bogus site draft cases, we have begun to see bills of exchange taking their place. This change occurred on or around January 2001. All these bills of exchange drawn on the United States Treasury are worthless. All the same issues and background materials applicable to site drafts also apply to bills of exchange. So this is the same fraud under another name. So for inquiries by anyone adversely affected by this fraud, please contact the Treasury Office of Inspector General, OIG. So that was in 2012. Bogus site drafts, and this is what it should look like. This is what it looks like. A bogus site draft. Probably have a limited as value. Don't do that. I've learned that early. So this will be like a bogus site draft. So this instrument has a colored background, void, pantograph, and micro printing. So everything is like void and stuff. The reverse side includes an artificial watermark when it's supposed to have a official watermark. So your notes, bonds, all that got to be on bond paper with watermark. And they call it a site draft, tendered at par, HJR 192. This ain't even the current name for it no more. It's Title 31, Section 5118. And I wouldn't even have put that on there. It says certified draft, which is, a phrase that might alarm, number, etc., UCC registration number, etc. I never seen this before. Non-negotiable. So this like a check. It's non-negotiable. And there goes a voucher number, the date that it's, the year that it's in, the year that is sent. I mean, this is the number of the check. That's why it's right here. The date it's sent. This is the amount they're sending. Pay at site to, which mean on demand. And there's nothing wrong with site drafts and all that, but the accounting number and the routing numbers are all wrong. So this document just looks a mess. So if you look right here, it says United States Treasury, Department of Debt and Collection, which they're wrong. Yeah, this is all wrong. This is just all wrong. I don't even want to look at it. This is bogus, fraudulent. This is stupid right here. Who the hell made this? This is dumb. But it's signed, and on the back it's endorsed. You see? So if it had legitimate accounts and stuff, this is a check too, by the way. So this is bad. This ain't good. So let me see, what's the other one? Alright, so this is important right here. So alert 9910, suspicious transactions, subject fictitious site drafts. So 2, chief executive officers of all national banks, all state banking authorities, chairman, board of governors of the Federal Reserve System, chairman, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, Conference of State Bank Supervisors, Deputy Controllers, Districts, Assistant Deputy Controllers, District Counsel, and Examining Personnel. So they had sent this shockwave down everywhere. So you better watch out. So it's regarding fictitious site drafts payable through the United States Treasury. So it has been brought to our attention that certain individuals have been making and executing worthless paper documents which are titled site draft. Copy attached, which we seen. So these items state that they are payable through the United States Treasury at Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., and all that. So these instruments are being presented for payment at banks and other businesses throughout the United States. They have no financial value because it don't connect to an actual account, and no legal validity because it cannot be validated that the Social Security is a check account. So it's fraudulent. So when they put the Social Security and check account numbers and nothing pops up, they're like, what the hell is this? Like, why am I not able to put this check in? So the documents have the following characteristics. 1. A statement printed on them. This document has a colored background in microprinting. The reverse side of this document has an artificial watermark. 2. The numbers encoded in the micro-style print along the bottom edge are not valid American Banking Association routing numbers. It doesn't connect to any of the 12 district banks, nor any other recognizable type of number used in the financial community. So there's a financial community to process or identify the item. So it didn't have an American Banking Association routing number to process or identify the item. The SSN number is to identify. The number on the back, serial number, is bond number. And the routing number is the bank and everything connected to the serial number that you're trying to identify. So 3, the person signing the document is not authorized by the U.S. Treasury to issue such documents, saying that's from them. So any of these instruments that are presented to the U.S. Treasury for payment will be returned. It will be returned. If they don't return it, that means they kept it to the sender, and copies will be provided to the appropriate law enforcement agencies. So if one of these instruments is presented to your institution for payment, or if you have any information concerning this matter, you should immediately bring it to the attention of your local office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, which is FBI, and Office of the Comptroller of the Currency Enforcement and Compliance Division. And they give you address, the number, and everything. So your institution should also prepare a suspicious activity report in accordance with Title 12 CFR 21.11 dealing with banking. Under no circumstances should your institution honor one of these instruments or submit it for payment. So that may be the reason why none of your stuff is working, because it's bogus, it's missing things, and it got extra things you don't need in there and all that. So Danielle P. Stepano, Director, Enforcement and Compliance Division, attachment. So we're done seeing those. Alright, so what I want to show you guys now is these right here, and I'm done. So I'm not going to check these out right now. Wait, let me see what this one is, but I know this one's important. Actually, this one right here, these are fraudulent promissory notes, fraudulent bonds. So let's see this real quick, because this will end off our video for today once we finish this page. And when we come back, we'll go into the fraud they're claiming about the A for V and things like that. So this ain't nothing yet. Right now this is dealing with bonds and notes and bills. So let's wait till this load up. Hallelujah. Who I knew where we are on time. Alright, so look at this. This is one of the bogus ones. The unlimited amount. Like, what the hell? In accordance with these laws and all that. They're right about that. Everything else is fine. This has, they put a birth certificate number here. I'm not sure if that's bogus yet though. Registered mail number, that's not bogus. The man's full name goes here, that's not bogus. But this right here is bogus. It has no amount. And then it says right here, issued by, you would be the maker of this bond or the issuer, non-domestic, without the U.S. They hate when we say this now. They hate that. That's a trigger word now. And the beneficiary they put here is the Department of Trust, the Department of the U.S. and all this stuff. And then it says, in the matter of certificate of live birth number, and you put your QSIP number, your birth certificate number here, accepted for value, keyword again, and exempt from levy for deposit to the Department of the Treasury for further credit to, etc. SSN number, full name, straw man name, and social security number. So the undersigned man, full name, principal, a living Christian man or woman in rerum natura, herewith accepts for value the enclosed bond, certificate of live birth number, etc. And all endorsements front and back in accord with all these laws and blah 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 blah. So deposited, so all that is fine, but the thing is that they don't even have a value on it. They said this is registered. So all this is all fine. You see, the thing is that the silence is acquiescence. The thing that's bogus about this is that it says unlimited, and everyone's using the same type of bond. I've seen this many times myself. You gotta watch out. So this right here, it doesn't have a number on it, and why? Okay, this, I don't know what the heck they did here, but this is nearly incomplete. But this is a private bond for set off. So, and the word set off ain't the same as offset or discharge, by the way. So let me see, what is the other one? Oh yeah, this right here. And we are done with this page for today. So right, we seen that. Other frauds. Treasury checks, notes, bonds, and account numbers. Alright, so we're almost complete. Let me see, what's this right here. investigating fraudulent promissory notes, blah 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 blah. Alright, and these are examples. Secured promissory note. Like, what the heck is all this? Oh, TBS, probably their initials. Then they put the registered mail number. There goes the amount right here. Maturity date, original issue date. Hereby grant this private issue. It's trying to say, okay, so paid to the order of, etc. Whoever is supposed to be paid to. For further credit to. Case or account number, put the account number. Purchase order number, put the account number, blah blah blah. Routing information. Man, these people put a little too much on their thing, man. This look bogus. 369. So this secured promissory note shall be entered as an asset to the United States Department of the Treasury in the amount of. So that instruction's not bad. But yo, this thing is missing stuff. So this needs to be looked at a little bit longer because something's wrong about it. That's what they're trying to say. So this is a bogus check, I guess, because look at this, barely have an account number right here, and unless they exited out. So Joe, blah 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 blah. See, it's endorsed on the back like it should be. Okay, so that would be where the straw man name and all that stuff go. Their banks will go here, but they call it BPD checks, and they're trying to charge it to Parkerberg, which is, I don't know why, but this is what makes it fraudulent, because I guess the routing number and the account number is not recognized. 1047 is the number of the check, etc. 0 cents. Alright, so yo, if I was y'all, sit down and check these out and just look at them carefully. Look at your promissory note with the mortgage company and look at bill bonds and stuff to understand. So these are the last two things I'm going to read and we're going to pause. So Department of the Treasury, Washington DC, etc. Office of Inspector General, American Bankers Association, etc. So subject, fraud alert, bogus treasury checks, notes, bonds, and account numbers. So the Department of Treasury, Office of Inspector General, OIG, has been investigating incidences whereby individuals are using fraudulent checks, promissory notes, bonds, and bills of exchange to pay off debts, deposit sums of money, or purchase items such as vehicles and real estate. The fraudulent documents often include the bearer or principal's name and generally specify payment of a large sum of money. The promissory notes and bonds will also list the Secretary of the Treasury as the trustee. These are fraudulent, fictitious instruments and are not issued or backed or guaranteed by the United States Treasury. So recently, Treasury Office of Inspector General has become aware of a different variation of the scheme. Individuals are obtaining routing numbers from two treasury bureaus, the FMS and the BPD, and also BPD's Treasury Direct program. So BPD is in charge of that direct program on the internet and through seminars. These seminars are held throughout the U.S. and teach attendees how to create the aforementioned fictitious documents and how to use FRNs, Federal Reserve numbers, routing numbers. So individuals are now creating false checking accounts using these routing numbers because it's not a check account, and are using their SSN as the checking account number. That's the main problem. They're using the SSN as the number. So they list the bank as either the FMS, like we seen on one of those bogus checks, or the BPD. So as these treasury bureaus in the Treasury Direct program do not offer checking accounts for the public, they will not honor any of these checks. And you got to watch out because you can't be calling these things checks. They're extension of credit, not checks. You ain't got no money in your account to be paying off something. You're extending credit, borrowing it, and all that as deferred payments. So, however, because the checks are presented near weekends and holidays, the delays in the check verification process often allows the perpetrator to get away with money they are not entitled to. So some people actually get paid from this junk, but not right. Although backed up by FDIC, and it should not be looked at as negative because it's an asset on the bank's books according to their words. So thereby leaving banks to assume the loss. So Treasury OIG is requesting that you publicize this scheme in your publications and websites and alert your members so that the Treasury OIG may more effectively reach a larger audience regarding these instances. So if you have any questions or if your organization have seen these types of documents, please contact the Treasury OIG and etc. And they gave us examples of those notes, bonds, and all that. This is off right here. Like, what the hell is this? What the hell is this? Almost everything on here is right except the numbers and this right here. And you got this bogus thing over here and stuff, man. Like, what the hell is this? Where is it? Where you at? Where you hiding? Man, y'all tripping. So this is the last one right here. So Department of the Treasury, National Association of Realtors. So subject, fraud alert. So the Department of Treasury, OIG, is investigating. So they're saying the same thing. So to purchase and blah, 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 blah. So Treasury OIG has also been made aware of incidents in Arizona and Colorado where similar fraudulent documents were used to attempt to purchase homes in an office building. So they are referenced as personal promissory note and private offset bond. However, they have the name of Henry Paulson. So this is what's wrong here. That's why, however, they have this name here, Henry Paulson, Secretary, United States Treasury, on the face of the documents. So the fraudulent documents are not referenced as United States Treasury bonds or promissory notes. So they're not referenced as United States Treasury bonds or promissory notes. I wouldn't even put that on there. Or maybe that's what it's missing. So Treasury OIG has learned that the only type of hard copy bond issued by the U.S. Treasury that a citizen can purchase today is a savings bond. All other bonds are electronic and EFT, and the buyer would not receive a hard copy document. So finally, Paulson's name should not appear on any document listed as a private bond or promissory note, since these items are not backed or guaranteed by the U.S. Treasury. So if you have any information regarding this type of fraudulent activity, etc., etc. So I guess that concludes our video for today. So when we come back, we're gonna in part 2, we're gonna finish it off because we got a couple of other places to go to. Since now we went through all that stuff, we got a couple of things to look at, man, and I really want to go into the A for V thing with you guys. So let me see. There's something missing here, man. Where's the okay, I know it's at. It's right here. So alright, so when we come back, I think we already went into most of these right here. We're gonna be going into the IRS claims about these things being bogus as well. Some of these things that these people are teaching. So until then, I'll see you guys next time. Shalom, y'all. I love y'all. Stay safe.